Okay, ready. Go, slide.
Okay, right, we are here. Season 4 of Traveller, or season 3 3/4.
Four. Feels like four.
It feels like season 4. Yeah, we finished the last season with a cliffhanger. What I wanted to do, literally, yeah. What I wanted to do before we start, really, obviously we've got the backdrop here, which I'll tell you a little bit about, and then we're going to go into a bit of a campaign review, where I'm going to quickly, as quick as possible, skirt through the story so far, and there are going to be a shitload of images, and you'll just see them, flick them out. There must be about 100 images, and I'm going to try not to spend all night doing that. But what I wanted to do before we do that is I want to ask you as players, what is your favorite sci-fi movie or TV or story? What's your favorite sci-fi? It could be an episode, could be a whole series. So we'll start with Dan.
So mine is the obvious one, and it's my whole life has been built on it, and it is New Hope. Just everything, like my whole life is I work where I work because of that. So it's shaped everything.
And what is it about that?
It's the story of a nobody becoming a somebody. That as a young lad, like everyone thinks Han Solo's the cool one and Vader's the scary one. But as a young boy, it was because Luke Skywalker was a no one. Yeah. And then he ended up being a someone. And that was the thing that I just hung to from a very young age.
Yeah, from sort of humble beginnings, that someone can become anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What about you, Mickey?
Favorite show and why? Favorite sci-fi show and why?
Yeah, or show, or could be an episode within, if it was a series or movie. You know, just.
Well, I mean, mine. I think again, you kind of know mine. Babylon 5 is really that's probably my go-to sci-fi show. And although it's a bit hammy in its acting, the reason I love it is the story arc and the concept of good people being bad and bad people being good, and the blurred lines between all of that stuff. And actually, there's just so many fantastic kind of deep stories to that and morals to life, which I think they managed to tackle in a particularly good way. However, I would have to say that's like my go-to. If I was like saying with a modern lens on it, though, I would have to say, what is it? Orville is a fantastic series, and the way they tackle modern day social challenges and hang-ups that humanity has, and puts the lens on it of, yeah, that's great, but let's take it to an extreme. And now, how do you feel about it? And Orville is, I think everyone should watch the Orville.
I've not watched that yet.
No, I've not seen it. No.
It feels like the first few episodes feels like a joke, and you're like, is this just a parody of Star Trek?
It piss takes Star Trek with dick jokes, but it really isn't.
Oh yeah, you've got to get into it. And you've got to get over some of the sort of because they sort of play on hamminess, and I kind of like that, because if you have hammy acting, it sort of almost forces you to look for something deeper than just the acting, you know.
What's it on, Mickey? Is it on like Amazon or
Disney? It's on Disney.
Disney.
Oh, it's a Disney, right? Okay.
Yeah, 3 seasons, and I would have to say they are all surprisingly fantastic. Like genuinely, you're going to watch it to begin with, and you'll have to persevere, and I think you'll find it hard to put it down after episode 5 or 6.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I found exactly that. First 3 episodes, I was like, this is just Star Trek with dick jokes, and I'm in. It's basically it's Seth MacFarlane, so I was like, oh, it's Family Guy, but set against his love of.
Is it him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he wrote it and he stars in it, and it's sort of his loving homage to Star Trek.
Yeah,
It's so based on that idea of the Federation, but with sort of those Family Guy real world observation things. And in the first few episodes, you get that, and you're like, oh, okay, it's like a very well produced Next Generation with dick and fart jokes. But they veer away from that so quickly into either that got really dark, or there are so many episodes, particularly season 2 and 3, where I sit down afterwards and just go, I need to rewatch that, because I'm not sure how I feel about it.
That sounds good.
There's a few of them that have brought a tear to the eye, like as in
completely
that emotion. And it's rare that a sci-fi show will do that to me. I'll be honest. I watch them specifically to avoid emotion, and that one actually brings it. So anyway, that's so Babylon 5. If you wanted the kind of the short answer, Orville is probably the more modern lens on sci-fi for me.
Yeah. Okay. Nice one. What about you, Rob?
So all the obvious ones have been covered. Dan has touched on the foundations of my childhood. Mickey has touched on B5, which is again my favorite in terms of having a full-on story arc from episode 1 that was written and intended and plays out even though you don't know it is to start with. Love the Orville, but for me it's Firefly. It kills me that they didn't make more Firefly, but at the same time I'm almost glad they didn't, because it stands as almost a perfect show in its potential. And the thing I love about it is it feels like an RPG campaign. It's what I love about it is it isn't even nuanced. It isn't like, well, they're bad guys because they're sort of space pirates but they've got hearts of gold, or they're evil murderers but they're just people who live in this weird space and time, and they act how people will act. And every episode feels a bit like an episode of an RPG. And the point where I first fell in love with it, I was massively hungover at a mate's house, and he's like, "You've got to watch this show, Firefly." I got a DVD, and I was like, "Yeah, all right." And we started watching the first episode, and I was thinking, okay, it's relatively well produced for low budget, and it's quite well scripted because it's Joss Whedon, and I enjoyed Buffy and stuff. That's great. And there's a moment where like they capture this bloke and they're telling him they're going to let him go, but he's going to go back to his boss and tell his boss not to come hunting them ever again. And he does this great bad guy speech of, "Wherever you go in the universe, I will hunt you down, I will find you, and I will kill you." And Mal Reynolds just kicks him into the engine and shreds him and goes, "Right, well, that's the end of that then."
Mal Reynolds is the coolest dude.
That is the RPG choice you would make. You'd be like, well, we're not going to live with that in our back. We'll just shoot him.
Yeah.
And I watched that and went, that's what I would do if I was him in that situation.
One of my favourite scenes in that series is where Mal and Jane, there's a bit of a conflict coming, and Jane goes up to him with that gun, and Mal's like, "He's going to fucking shoot me." And Jane goes, "This is my very favourite gun."
And he gives it to him.
He gives it to him.
Yeah.
Jane was awesome. He was like one of my favourite first space characters. Just awesome.
I watched it again recently, and it looks incredibly dated. You know, I think like the aesthetic is incredibly dated, but I still enjoyed it for the story, really.
Yeah, from the narrative and the writing point, it's good. But I think it's another one a bit like the Orville, where I think I first fell in love with it for the writing style. You know, it's some of it's played for laughs, and some of the language is very sort of, I can get behind that because it's a bit jokey, and Wash is playing with these little plastic dinosaurs and stuff. But actually, when you step out from that, it feels like a universe of possibilities. You know, they could be on any planet doing anything, and then they get dragged into this wider storyline when they take the Tams on board and stuff, and it's like, shit, this could be something really epic. But it's happening to a group of people who are barely managing to keep their ship running, and that feels so RPG to me. I think it's the reason it's always resonated. They're just trying to get by another day in space.
Just trying to get by.
See, nice it's interesting, isn't it? Because I for a similar thing to you on it. I'm not a big fan of westerns at all. Like, it's just a genre that I just can't get on with. And so when they mixed sci-fi and western, I was just like, oh man. But like, again, it was that kind of persevered past the first couple of episodes. The character development is so fantastic on it, and I just love Jane. I love this guy who's meant to be a bad guy, but it's I love conflicted stereotypes. That's the thing for me. I love people that are meant to be a bad person, but actually they end up being a good person, or vice versa. Or again, that whole play on reality.
Not quite simple. Like it's the contradiction in human nature, isn't it? People can be selfish and do what they think is good, but it could be bad, or
chaotic good.
Chaotic
the win.
I'll tell you what,
Mike, I'm just going to give you just real quick couple of honourable mentions because I only mentioned
Yes.
just a couple of honourable mentions. Individual episodes of things would be there's one episode that I would, whenever it's on, or if it's a go-to episode of Next Generation, and it's the one where Geordie and Ensign Rowe phase out and get lost and trapped between realities, and they're visible to themselves but no one else. And I just love that because I love the idea of I get kind of trapped in. I love time travel, and I also like the idea of there's things between worlds. And so there's this one episode where they try and get phased up into back, and they don't. They get locked into it, and they can see the ship, and they can see things happening. And it's like it's a exploration of, is there afterlife? Because they think they're dead, but they're alive. So are they ghosts, or are they trapped between worlds? And
are they in like
really
a different
cool
dimension?
concept.
Are they in some sort of different dimension or something?
Yeah, they're just literally locked between phase. When the phase
Yeah.
technology that moves them across, they get locked in this strange plane between the two. To themselves, they're on the ship, but no one else is. No one else can see them, and they're watching. Look at the people reacting to as if they have died. So it is like an afterlife. Oh, are we dead? And we're looking back. No, we're here, and they're trying to attract and get themselves out of that phase. So that's like one of my favorite episodes.
That episode, there's an episode of the Orville where they're dealing with a planet that's phasing in and out of time.
Oh wow! Okay.
And they accidentally interact with it at different times. You will love that episode. I thought it was
That's
brilliant.
great. I forgot about that
Isn't
one.
that episode brilliant? Anyway.
So that then, of all the Star Treks, Deep Space Nine is my favorite, which is slightly controversial, I know, but it is my favorite because I actually like the static nature of it. Instead of just the endless journey, I like that Deep Space Nine is in a static one place,
rooted in place,
and it's what needs to happen. But it's also because it is all talking about how different societies have to come together, and the conflict between them, and how in the end of the day you have to work together. And I love the way that they explore that. And then the wormhole is the link to that. And again, that's a little bit what triggers my mind of time travel and that between worlds thing. You've got the magic door that takes you to the other realm. So Deep Space Nine is my go-to painting series if I want something on to watch that I've seen many times. And then the last one would be a film is Event Horizon.
Oh God.
Just because it's so cool.
It's 40k in space.
Yes,
that escalated quickly.
And it's the doorway into chaos. And it's just
I mean, that
incredible,
film,
right?
That sort of that idea and that trope from Event Horizon appear in so many different books, like James A. Corey's, like the Leviathan series, so the stuff that became The Expanse, and all of that. There's lots of overlapping themes, and you go back to Event Horizon, you just go, "I was in here first."
Yeah, it's just
And I mean, I remember watching that when it not long after it first came out, and just thinking, I mean, I was quite young then, but I was like, "Fucking hell, this is terrifying."
Amazing. Yeah.
The phrase "Liebe mehr" has never left me.
No, never.
I watched that again recently as well when I went up to Glasgow to see Gaz, and we watched the Brian Cox thing, and he was talking about black holes. This is what the evening lecture was.
Okay.
And while we were there, I was like, "Oh, I really fucking want to watch. I really want to watch Event Horizon." And I got back to the hotel, and I had like the tablet, and I was like, "I wonder if it's on Disney or on Netflix or something." Anyway, it was on, and I was like, "Fucking hell, I'm going to watch Event Horizon." So I sat up in bed in the hotel. You know, it's just great, isn't it? Because you've just got nothing else to do.
Yeah, and you've not got to deal with the kids.
No kids, no washing up, no nothing. And I was like, I just watched Event Horizon, and I was just like, this is. And then in the morning, just like lay there, just fucking like, no one's bothering me. It's brilliant. It was great. I think my series, and I've never watched it since it sort of came out, would be Battlestar Galactica, the new series.
Yeah,
because of the sense of threat and dread. Like they're always on the back foot. They're hunted. They're being chased down, and the enemy outgun them, outman them, and out-tech them. And just the Cylons are just sort of uber cool, and the ships and the interior of the ships are really, really cool. And that concept of the Cylons evolving to look like humans, not just machines anymore. There's obviously loads of series, but that was when I sort of thought about asking you this today. I thought that would be my quick fire answer. I think we'll just get on a little bit. Can you see this backdrop here?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Thalassan Sargasso. So you know that system, Thalassa?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is.
I say that I do. I remember.
Yeah,
I remember.
you remember that. You'll remember it. It's a mostly water world, but low seas and lots of swamps and things like that. The Thalassan Sargasso, and there are humans on this system, but they're like transhumans. They've been genetically modified to be able to breathe underwater, and they've got like they're fat with think a bit like deep ones, but not quite as deep. And they're fat with gills and things like that. They're transhumans. So the Thalassan or Thalassan Sargasso is a vast neural net life form that covers the entire planet. It's a biochemical consciousness composed of trillions of these little microorganisms that act like a single intelligent mass of protoplankton. And it's got this capacity to absorb and store information like this big planet-wide neural net. And it's kind of impossible to differentiate this life form from the oceans. And the Thalassan people, they sort of worship and commune with this entity. And what they do is they bathe in the Sargasso-infested ocean, and they enter like this rapport state with the organism. And micro tendrils from the organism temporarily infiltrate the human's neocortex. And the swimmers describe it as like swimming in sentient algae. And they report this kind of feeling that their consciousness is expanding. It's a kind of metaphysical, sort of slightly psychedelic experience. Their consciousness is expanding across the whole surface of the planet and merging with something vast and ancient. And swimmers have reported subtle changes in spatial and cognitive abilities, with some making startling breakthroughs in mathematics or physics, as if the ocean enhanced their creative facilities. But the only problem is that once you've left the matrix, the transformation starts to fade within days or weeks, and attempts to transport the life form to other worlds have failed. It doesn't seem to take on other worlds. So if you jump to that system, by the time you've got back to somewhere, it's pretty much faded. Neurologists have been stationed on Thalassa, and they've attempted to map the brain alterations wrought by this Sargasso. And the current theory is that this entity, this organism, has got the ability to reach into the mind of the swimmer, dissolve it, and reconstruct it according to its own template.
Wow.
So that's
that is why I love Traveller. What I've missed with doing D&D is the start of every Traveller session when you're like, oh, you see this really cool looking weird picture here. Here's 10 minutes of how cool a single planet you may never go to is. And it's just like, fuck. I feel that. And it might just be that I don't read all the pre-published lore for other systems and other universes because I like to make my own. Yeah. And I've sort of skim-read Sword Coast and what have you. And I know it's sort of been around as long as pretty much a lot of the really long mainstream fantasy stuff, but it feels like Traveller has the most time invested in generating these tiny little microcosms of amazing lore for hundreds of thousands of planets.
Yeah, there are 11,000. There are 11,000 worlds in charted space.
It's stunning. I love all the sessions. This is one of my favorite bits of every session you do, is this little bit at the start, because immediately you're like, we're in Traveller.
Immediately you kind of is that it's lore that's been around, been developed since what, the late 70s? Traveller lore. I mean, this is serious. Got some serious evolution.
This lore is a year older than I am.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it.
Okay, I've brought you to the landing page.
Hey.
You'll see their little hex. That sort of center right is Cordan, which is in the borderland. And the whole of the Trojan Reach is cut in half by this big area of sort of badlands, of post-apocalyptic Sindalian systems. I thought we were just between the north top east, northeast of the map, which is Cordan Trailing, which is the Third Imperium. And on the bottom part, you'll see the Aslan Hirate in yellow, and this little splinter state in pink or purple, which is the Glorious Empire. And then over here in green, you've got the Florian League, which are a human variant species. And the Imperium calls this area the Human Client Kingdoms, because they're on the sort of periphery of the Third Imperium. So I thought we would just very sort of quickly, or as quick as possible, go through a bit of a sort of campaign review.
I'm totally up for that. And again, bearing in mind, it's been quite a while, and let's hope we're doing this campaign for some time. So if today is all about finding out where we were again, that's totally cool by me.
I could not be in more agreement.
Yeah, so we'll take as long as this as you want.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I once, whilst really pissed, gave Dan a 3-hour lecture on the whole background of the campaign, I couldn't do that again because it was a long time ago. Yeah, and I need it all back.
We can take as long as this as we want, and you can ask questions, so I don't want it to be a monologue. And we'll just go through it, and we'll go through
Have
it.
Have you ever open-mouthed kissed a horse?
There's a couple of rules updates.
Oh, sorry, relevant questions, right?
As if closed mouth is okay.
Well, closed mouth is just horseplay, literally.
There's a couple of rules and campaign updates. Okay, so if you decide, if your character dies, or you decide your character's reached the end of his, what you're interested in playing, you want a new challenge, you think, I want to part this character, or you just think, I want 2 characters, because you might decide I want an expedition character and I might want a ship crew. You might want 2 or 3 characters to play different roles at different times. You can draw your character from some system that you've made an ally with, that you've made some sort of allegiance with. Where you might have made contacts. And also, if you look on your character sheet, now this won't apply to Dax, but to Billum it definitely applies, and I think to Scratch too. There's a spot on I think it will be on the notes. On info, sorry. On the info tab, there's a tab there that says contacts. So for Scratch, it's got 2 allies, 1 contact, and 1 rival. So those allies and contacts, an ally is someone who will really help you. They'll go out their way to help you. A contact, they're not going to go out their way. They're not going to risk their own neck, but they could be useful. You can use those like aces up your sleeve. And you can just say to me at any point, if we can work it in with the story reasonably, have I got, I think I've got an ally here or a contact here, and we'll try and thread that person in. And we don't have to know who it is at the moment. We can just make it up on the hoof, or make it up
less of that.
sessions.
Thank you. I am a pig.
Yeah, less hoof jokes.
Less of the hoof jokes.
Yeah. On the trotter, it'd be fine.
And I think Billem's got a few of those as well, and definitely Scratch has. I don't think Dan has. I don't think Dax has. But...
I thought. Hang on a sec.
I thought I mostly had enemies.
You've definitely got enemies, as have I. But
Yeah.
I'm just looking for my character sheet here. That
I
got
remember making many enemies, but never any friends.
You've got some friends. You've got 2 friends. If you look on your contacts tab, you've got 2 friends.
I don't believe it.
You've got 3 allies who are they're not.
1, 2, 3. Okay, they're just not named at the minute.
They're just not named. You've got 4 enemies though as well.
Yeah. I was gonna say I knew I had lots of enemies, but I remember Alexis because we met him early on, very early on in the game, didn't we? He was like
I was going to say he should be on my allies. That's the guy I was thinking of.
Yeah. I've not put him on because he was more of a campaign introduction.
That's true. He was a narrative tool,
but he is an ally.
Just a question: when you're referring to enemies, are they treated because it says rival? Is that just?
No, a rival's a friendly rival.
A friendly rival, and then an enemy is an outright.
Not
not friendly, but like rival could be for me like a rival trader or something like that. But these are actual enemies,
These
right?
are
that
enemies.
want you
An
dead.
enemy is the
They want you
reason
dead.
that Mike
Okay.
has created a death world, which is why when you said if you want to make another character, I'm like, the threat hanging over me is already quite precious.
It's like, you might want to make another character.
You might want to make another character. Okay, so you can draw on those. Like you might draw an ace that's hidden up your sleeve.
Okay.
At certain times when you think you're out your depth, you need help. Or you need something.
Mm-hmm.
Can I put Crackerjack in my list of friends?
No. No.
Sinclair Krenov
They don't have
from
friends.
Kalkai Salute.
Yeah.
That was the ally that I had written down.
Yes, you could put him in, but he's not your.
No, he's more of a campaign sort of
He's
thing.
more of a
rather
campaign,
than a
yeah.
personal
These
ally.
are from your past. These are from your past.
yeah,
These are characters.
Dax has
from your
no
past.
allies in his past, unless you count the Flaming Dragon.
Any luck points, so you can spend luck points to basically fudge a roll. So you temporary spend luck points. So say you miss a roll by 1 point, you can use a luck point to boost that roll to make it a success, and you gain those luck points back at the end of a scenario. So I think like for Scratch, you've got 7 luck.
Mm-hmm.
So you can burn through luck.
And you get them back at the end of each
Scenario. Not session.
No,
Not a
so
session,
starting
yeah,
tonight, Dax has 9 luck. Starting tonight, Dax is on 2 luck.
Well,
And I
he's
believe
used 2.
all
He's
7
used 2.
Oh, right, used 2. That's
Yeah.
okay then.
Yeah, you've used 2. So
Because
you've got 7
that was the
left.
sausage belt incident.
That was the sausage belt incident. Yeah. So you can burn those as you need, and you'll get them back when we designate there's a end of the scenario or end of the phase. There's some rules for ship boarding and mass combat sort of resolution, like abstract. So I'm thinking we've done 3 or 4 shipboarding piracy actions. If you were to do more, it might get a bit of a drag acting it out each time. So we can resolve it automatically with just a couple of rolls if you wanted to, and if anything, and it has rules for how high a tech, what the tech discrepancy is, whether you've got overwhelming forces. We work out your strength, we work out the enemy strength, we roll some dice, and then you refer to a chart, and it tells you the outcome. And if we think that outcome is exciting, we might zone in and role play that individual action. And I think it would be a way if you just said we want to do a quick bit of piracy.
Yeah.
We could just automate that action, or you might say no, let's go through it real time.
I think that's kind of cool because, as we've said, Mike, a lot of the boarding actions we've done have ended up quite similar. It's sort of one or two things. You all go in through a very narrow space. You face people off, and you either talk them down, or you fight them in that narrow space.
Yeah.
And I think we, as you just said now, we pick and choose the ones that we kind of want to zoom in on based on those people are, or what the dice rolls tell us. We go, actually, no, let's do this one. But if we're going to be pirates across the system, we're going to want to be pinging these things off, and some of them we're just going to want to go, did we or didn't we?
Yeah, we'll just automate it. And then what we might do is we'll do like a bit of emergent storytelling, where I just ask you to describe what happened based upon that, and we'll see sort of what happens from that. So that we've mentioned Dax's combat armor. There's a new central supply catalog, which I've put on it's on the Google Drive if you've got the link, but it's also available on Foundry if you go onto the journal tab, which is top right, and you go down, and there's a tab there, player reference books. If you can see that.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then it's got like Mongoose books, it's got the core rule book, the central supply catalogue, and the mercenary field catalogue, which is more sort of military weapons for mercs. So
you realise giving the players the shopping list inside the book, inside the VTT, every now and again you're going to be like, they're not really paying attention. They've they're buying shit.
They're buying shit, yeah. So this is how the idea of squirrel suits emerge. Also, so there's been there's a new High Guard, which is the spaceship's rulebook, and they have changed some of the rules for ship weapons. So my instinct is to go with the rule changes. There's a benefit to that, but there's also a cost. So the barbette, your particle barbette, now multiplies the damage you roll by 3 times.
We'll go with it.
So it's a lot more powerful. The only problem with that is the enemy's going to have that as well.
Gotta fucking hit us first.
Gotta fucking hit you first. What it does is
we'll shoot first. It'll be fine.
It makes military weapons a lot more scary, and the Harrier is a military ship, so potentially you could just take out a yacht or a ship in 1 or 2 shots, rather than the 7 or 8 that it took when you chase those Varga traders down.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a military ship is going to just waste a commercial vessel, isn't it? It's just going to waste it. But obviously, if the enemy's got military ships, they're going to. So it tends to make space combat a lot more lethal and a lot quicker. Pros and cons to that.
In a weird way, I sort of love that, because in a role-playing game, it almost feels wrong, because if you lose a space, and I know it's not like your ship immediately goes supernova and you're all dead, you know, you're floating and you're wrecked and you might try.
Don't worry, I won't kill you.
Well, it sort of is now.
But at the same time, like that moment that Bill dived into the clouds with the ship and he was going lower and lower and lower, and I was like, it suddenly came to me, not only could this be a character death, other than Dax, it would have been a TPK, because I was the only one still on the Harrier, and it was like, or the other ship, and it's like, if he doesn't skim and make that amazing 11 that we all went, yes. It would kill 3 characters in one go.
Remember, I was on the Harrier, so basically, if I had it was like you might have been left.
That's right.
But you'd have been left with literally fuck all.
You'd have wiped out the ship and all the crew apart from me on the wanky little ship.
And everyone that you met in the universe would have been like, "Where's my ship?"
And I would never have trusted bald men again.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Let's start. Okay. So those are the rules. So to be fair, if you die, if your ship is destroyed, I'm unlikely to kill you all, because that's the end of the campaign. But there will be massive repercussions of your ship being destroyed.
Now. He's not old enough. It's only 43. He should be 44.
As a quick 44. Question, Mike, and I ask this not in anticipation or to give you license, nor am I suggesting we do this in the next couple of weeks, because I want to live and breathe Dax again and all the rest. Given how lethal Traveller is, we've experienced this. We've been very lucky so far, but you know, it's not a hero system. It's a real people living in space, bad shit happens sort of system. Over time, over sort of the next few weeks, if we want to do it, would it be worth everybody having a spare character that they not necessarily roll up, but at least sort of theorize and get in their heads, maybe discuss with you, so that if we do happen to have a session where someone goes down, we can plug somebody potentially in, we can hire somebody, we can recruit someone. I'm just getting a feeling for your...
Yeah. I'm totally up for that. If you want to have if you want to hire on other crew, obviously we've got Kirsch, Silek, but I mean, and Goldtooth are there, so they're sort of there in the background. You could take charge of any of those, but then
they sort of feel like that one vehicle in Top Gear where if yours breaks down, you fall behind. You get the car at the back that the production crew gave you. It's like, yeah, it's nice, but I want my own one.
I want your own one. Yeah, like definitely, we could definitely do that. So you can give that some thought. Yeah. I definitely love the way Dan's ears appear on that.
Watch. I just found my position a minute ago.
It's really strange how in the last half hour he's got much more pig-faced in certainly the way I'm looking at him anyway.
It's so good.
Never realised what an ugly fucker he was.
It's just rude, isn't it? It's just rude. I just noticed actually that both Dax and Willem looks like you're both doing the blue steel pose in your picture. You're both slightly on the side and both. Yeah.
I've just shared with you. Can you see that image there? I've just shared.
Welcome to the Reach.
Welcome to the Reach.
Yeah. Can you see the one that says the
all that information?
So there's the Milky Way. I wasn't sure whether it just showed you the. Has it not showed you? Has it showed you everything?
Yeah. We can click on it, and it gives us all the
New
links.
Dawn, shuttle going down. These are all the things we've done, though, right? These are all
So-
the things we should see.
I shared it all at the same time by accident, but let's go through it one at a time.
Okay, thanks.
So-
Let's get to Dax's private hell in a bit, shall we?
So there's the Milky Way, and you can see at the bottom corner, the bottom in the center, there's charted space. So that's the limit of exploration.
Are you clicking on something now to pop up, or should we be clicking on it?
I think if we click on the words Milky Way on that thing,
Oh, I
that-
see.
Yeah,
There you
you
go.
click
Yeah,
on
that's
Milky
it.
Way.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah, I've accidentally shared the whole file, and what I should have just shared is the image. So there's the Milky Way, yeah?
Yeah.
And you can see charted space there.
tiny.
Tiny little space. Tiny little space. You'll see just above that there is the Zodani core expeditions, and that is all rumor and hearsay. The Zodani have been mounting over many generations explorations to the galactic core for reasons that are unknown. If you go to the next one, map of charted space. I should have just done these one at a time with you, sorry.
Mate, no, this is perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We've got control.
I love this.
There's the map of charted space. So there is, in that little tab, that's the whole of charted space. And you've got the Imperium, which is the sort of biggest polity. You've got sort of corewards north. You've got the Varga extents, which is dominated by Varga, but no real empire. It's lots of little kingdoms. And then moving clockwise, you've got the 2000 worlds, which is Kukri, and they are militant, genocidal herbivores.
Of course they are.
Dedicated to the extermination of all meat-eating life. Further clockwise, you've got the Hive Federation. They are hexapod, like octopusy thingsy. Like I'll show you some pictures of them at some point. Further clockwise, you've got the Solomani Sphere, and the Sol, the people of Sol. That is the people of Terra. That's us. So that is centered around Terra. Further clockwise, you've got the Aslan High Rate. And then carry on clockwise, top left, you've got the Zodani Consulate. And the Zodani are human variant species. And you'll see there's a little yellow square highlighted. That's the Trojan Reach. That's our area of play. Next along.
I love that the whole massive,
It's massive.
multi-system zone that we have worked in and scratched like 6 systems of in 2 years is in that little yellow box, and we've touched maybe 10% of that little yellow box.
Touched an infinitely small amount.
I mean, that's arousing to me in a wonderful way.
If you go to the next one, you've got the Traveller Timeline. And you'll see there a timeline going back about 10,000 years. So on the left side of the column, you've got the Imperial calendar. And on the right side of the column, you've got will be the Solomani or the Terran calendar. So you'll see that when Stonehenge was being built, and when on Terra they were building the pyramids, there was already this massive space empire, Imperial Space Empire, the Ziru Circa, the first Imperium. Now, these were humans that had been taken from Terra 300,000 years ago by the ancients in a sort of von Daniken Chariots of the Gods type thing. Now, the ancients have gone. No one really knows what happened to them. The first Imperium was this big sclerotic empire. It didn't like change. It didn't change for thousands of years. And then when the Terrans burst into the scene, which was around about 2097 AD, our time, they found this massive sclerotic empire. No, I'm okay. They found this massive sclerotic empire, and they were young, dynamic, and aggressive. They expanded quickly. They made alliances, and they just knocked it over. It was ready to collapse anyway. They knocked it over, and they took it over basically. And you'll see on that chart in yellow block the rule of man. So that was the second Imperium. So the rule of man only lasted a few hundred years because it couldn't cope. They tried to take over this sclerotic, decadent first Imperium, but they just couldn't really do it. It was doomed to fail. So then that collapsed, and while the rule of man was going, the Terrans, the people of Sol, on the far side of space, towards the outer rim, you've got the Sindalian Empire, which is our precursors to our campaign. After the collapse of the rule of man and the Sindalians round about the same time, you get this 1,500 year dark age where interstellar civilization collapses. There's no trade, there's very little space flight. It's called the Long Dark Night, and it is a dark age. There's very little progress. But within that, there's a few little embers. There's a few little small groups of worlds that keep the light burning, and one of those is the Kingdom of Drinax. It goes on for quite a while, actually, but it's not more than 9 worlds. It's only 9 small worlds, compared to the 11,000 that currently is now in the Third Imperium. You'll see during the Long Dark Night, there's also this little group called the Silean Federation, which is green, and that ends up becoming the Third Imperium. It gathers momentum. People want to see the end of this chaos period with barbarian raiders and things like that. So the Third Imperium is born, and we are now in the year 1106 of the Third Imperium. And Drinax fell 200 or so years ago, smashed by the Aslan for being our souls, and that's our traveler timeline, and that's where we are so far. So that's there. You've also got on that timeline when the individuals' races discovered jump drive, the Vellani, which are the humans who were taken away from Terra, like -9, so 10 or so thousand years ago, long time. And then there's the Dani, the Kukri, the Hivers, the Varga, the Terrans fairly recently, and the Aslan even more recently. The Aslan are a young, aggressive race, dynamic. Let's move on a little bit. Let's go to Dax's private hell.
Oh yeah, let's.
Dax Jendal, what happened again that led to this guy wanting to make a virtual hell for you?
Right, I'll tell you a tale. It's not a long tale. It's not a challenging tale, but it was a man trying to do the right thing. Well, I say man. I mean, I was part of a pirate crew, right? So, I mean, I say two things here. One, you're kind of putting me on the spot here, but two, I got it written down, so I just got to click on the right folder. Here we go.
It might be really 3 years since you wrote this.
I had a very long and interesting life before I found myself aboard the coup de grace, and as part of that, I was. Let me just find out. There's one or two bits where it happened I need to know. That was it. It wasn't that one. It was the other one. Yep, gotcha. Yep. It was. Yeah. So I spent my life trying to find a purpose, and I found a purpose with the Dragon's Flame. These were my boys. We was pirates across the systems for 30 years. I was with these guys. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but 24 years, 30 years. I was the guy. I was a sergeant in the Dragon's Flame. We happened to raid a small ship. Simple thing. We went in. We wanted to take their stuff. We should have taken their stuff. We did take their stuff, but once we got on board, I was piloting the ship, and it happened to be a high-ranking noble's pleasure barge. Now, we stepped aboard this barge. We raided them. I out-piloted the fuckers, and we docked and we took them. They couldn't fight us. But this little fucker's son, he was on board. Some weird name the fucker had. It did. It'll come to me, but I succumbed it or something. Anyway, this guy, his dad ran the whole thing, and he was playing on the pleasure yacht. He says to me, "I'll duel you. I'll take any of you on." And I says to myself, "I fucking have this soft lad." So I stepped up and I dueled him. And I fucking killed him. Wasn't that difficult either. Turns out his dad's Billy Big Bollocks, and now I'm in the fucking shit because his dad doesn't like that I killed his son. Now that was an honourable duel. That's as nice as pirates get. I let one of them step up. I said, "I fight one of you. The rest of you can fucking live. We're taking your ship. We're taking your shit. But the rest of you, you can go in an airlock. You can go in a fucking escape pod." And they all got away. And this guy steps up and he thinks he's the shit. So I killed him because it's what we do. But his dad's fucking mental. And now here I am and I'm stuck with a fallout. And I hear he's got some kind of contract on me and the guy's loaded. But I'd quite like to rob him myself, but I don't think that's on the cards right now.
The rumor was that this guy, this Baron, has made a virtual hell. It's a computer sim, and his plan is to plug Dax into it,
God, yeah,
where he can exist forever, being tortured. It's very illegal, and it sounds like it's fucking horrendous. So that's
Sounds to me like the guy doesn't know what Dax likes.
Chance would be a fucking fine thing. He's not found me yet.
Yeah, he's not.
I don't know why he gives such a shit about his boy. His boy was fucking shite. I fought an Aslan in single combat, killing that fellow with nothing. I'll tell you about it sometime.
Rescue gone bad. San Simeon. What happened there, Dylan?
Well, as you know, I am one of the most accomplished space postmen that there's ever been. And the thing is, I'm a nice guy, right? I genuinely am a nice guy. And I was passing by this planet. It was a moon, I think. It may have been a moon. And I heard a distress signal. So I thought it might be it's the right thing to go down, have a look and see if I can save some people. How was I to know that their inner airlock door was malfunctioning? So when I opened the door, how was I to know that that would essentially space all of the occupants on that ship? I genuinely went there to help. It wasn't my fault. But it did turn out that the people that unfortunately died in my rescue, one of them may have been a little well connected. And unfortunately, his father, it would seem, has not taken a massive liking. Was it his
father died? The father died.
It was the father died. So it's the son. Sorry, the son has taken a bit of a dislike to me, and unfortunately, they seem to have the money to be able to follow me wherever I've gone around the galaxy so far. So all round, I've stopped trying to rescue people as a rule, but I have had a run-in with this young whippersnapper on at least one occasion since, and I'll be honest, he's starting to chafe a little.
You killed him once.
And on our last meeting, I think I actually even managed to kill most of his crew. I don't know if I killed him. Did I?
You killed him.
I did manage to kill him.
Psycho fucking Billum took him down.
And I was quite happy about this because, to be honest, I didn't think anything more of it. However, Dax did point out that the guy looked somewhat younger. He looked pretty much the same age as when I spaced his dad, essentially. And I'd never even considered this, but he might be a clone. So, unfortunately, my woes may not have disappeared. We've just killed one of several.
Might have killed one of several.
I'm looking forward to the rematch. Those fuckers caught me off guard.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
I've never managed to do that in 3 years of gaming.
You killed Simeon San Simeon.
Yeah.
Or maybe you killed his clone.
You went full Psycho Billum. That was the proper character the character defining moment of Billum. He was just like, San Simeon.
Yeah, that was fucking
It was
brilliant.
proper falling down in space. That was, wasn't it? That was.
And we'll come to Simeon as well. If you go on next, you've got Alexis Draben. He was your old scout friend, Billum. You guys were scouts together.
I've got to try and do it again. I don't remember Alexis Draben, if I'm honest, out of character.
Okay,
but I do recall, wasn't he the guy that we met early on, and he kind of set me up with some, he set us up with some contracts.
Yes.
He was our
set you some
Jedico guy,
contracts.
wasn't he?
He was a bit of
He
our
put us on to
Jedico
Marduk right at
lead.
the beginning.
Yeah, he set you up. He was the first NPC we met, so we're talking about 3 years ago now. He was your old friend from back in the day, and you escaped Aslan Corsairs or Aslan Raiders together, and you've got your way back to safety through several worlds. And nowadays he's a straight up pen pusher, and he works for Jedico, which is the General Development Corporation, which is an imperial corporation. Their logo is "We Reach Beyond," and what they do is they build and maintain starports, and their sort of main job description, I suppose, is to maintain interstellar trade. So they build starports, they lease them to the worlds. I suppose they're the good guys. They're probably about as good. They're fairly benevolent. And it was through him and through them that you got your first job on Marduk. If we go to the New Dawn, and also he said, like, if it goes well, there'll be other gigs. Let's go to the New Dawn. That was your first ship.
All that beauty. It's still floating around full of pairs somewhere.
It's still floating around full of pairs. The New Dawn was your scout ship, unarmed. It's a 100-ton scout ship. That's it was the ship that Billum would have been sort of sent out. So Billum is like an off-duty scout who has a bit of work. He can submit sort of research data periodically, can't you, Bill?
Yeah, so I was going to joke and say I got like a little bag of envelopes which I carry around. No, but I can basically scan systems, gas giants, and feed that back into the as part of the scout service, we're always keeping check on which gas giants are able to generate what types of fuel and in what quantities. So skimming gas giants on a relatively regular basis is a good pastime for any scout, and just send that back into the central data store where we can convert that to credits.
Yeah, get a little bit of pay for that. So when you went to Marduk to do this bit of, they were basically, the Jedico were updating the starport, the downport on the surface, and you guys have got this contract, a bit of security work, a bit of engineering work, a bit of this, that, and the other. And while you were there, if you go onto Shuttle Gone Down, you will see you got shot down, didn't you? As you were transitioning from the high port to the downport, you got shot down.
I thought we were going to be dead episode 1.
You nearly all died. And if we go to Marduk crash site, you'll see where you crashed. You crashed in the middle of this sort of temperate area, abandoned. Marduk used to be a Sindalian imperial world, but it was absolutely devastated 2,000 years ago, and today very few people live there. A few people live on the coast and these little archipelagos, but in the interior, no one lives there. And it's really sort of apocalyptic ruins and mountains and wilderness. And you guys crash landed in this wilderness where you took it. There was a bit of a data. You had a bit of a map of the area, and you'll see it there. And if you go to Crash Survivors,
just before we skip off this entry, I think it's worth pointing out this map is the very first thing we saw in this group when we started role playing again.
Yeah.
And this little map will always have a very special place in my heart, because this was where it all kicked off. And Mike's just going, what are you going to do now? Stuff's happening. Things are going on. And we're like, we don't know. We haven't role played in 15, 16, 20 years.
Hack
Run
and
to
slash,
the
hack and
hill.
slash, hack and slash.
Yeah, we'll kill them. And Mike's going, they've all got vehicles and rocket launchers. Right, we'll run away then.
You did have you I think you retrieved like a rifle, didn't you?
Yeah, and
From the wreckage.
we got like one gun, and we're like, well, obviously we'll shoot them. It's like this isn't teenage D&D, guys. Keep moving.
It was pretty cool, that moment. And one of my favorite moments, I still remember it, was that I'm not sure if Mickey was fairly new to role playing at that point. And you said, "What should we do?" You asked me, "What should we do then?" And you were like, Rob was like, "Well, that's like up to us." Like, and you just went, "Oh, we could do anything." It was like,
but then I didn't have an answer.
We didn't have an answer.
I was just like, that's our choice. So what do we do?
What do we do? Let me just tell me. Can you suddenly? Okay.
Yeah, that's gone back to Welcome to the Reach.
Okay. Sorry. Go to Crash Survivors.
Oh.
There's your Crash Survivors. I've updated the artwork. I've updated the artwork for these Crash Survivors. These are the people who survived. People were sucked out as the shuttle got shot. People were sucked out of the shuttle, and when you crashed, the people were killed. You guys survived because it would have been a shit start to the game if you didn't. And there were these survivors. There was the Varga, Evan, this human female, Harold Danner, Kareen Lukawaya,
the Wheeler Cream.
The wee Kareen. She got kidnapped. She got taken by the raiders, didn't she?
Oh, that's still smart.
This human male, Finian Trevix.
Oh man, I like Finian.
That's Silek.
And there's Silek. There's Silek's new artwork.
Silek's new artwork before he went fucking psycho Silek on Kalkai Salute.
Yeah.
And shot that one.
What
let me just try this. Show Raiders incoming. What about now? Can you see this Raiders incoming?
Oh yeah.
Right,
yes.
that's how to do it. Yeah. Okay. So there's as you were recce the situation, as you sort of lay there nursing your wounds and bandaging and reconnaissing the area, the Ogman Raiders were incoming, and you saw them. You started to see them pile out of their ship, and there they were. This group of post-apocalyptic Mad Max style raiders, all looking pretty terrifying. And in the middle, the bishop was directing them with this gas mask and this very strange, archaic symbol on his chest. Never seen anything like it. And you guys, you legged it, which is the right thing to do. And you legged it into the woods, and then you made your way along the trail, where you came upon you came across a ruined facility. There's the map.
Oh,
there's the map. I wasn't going to share the maps, but I was like, it brings back so many memories. It brings back the memories, doesn't it?
Oh God, it does. I mean, and this particular map felt like old school role playing.
It did, yeah. And also on that trail, you were Silek got taken down by one of those wolfy creatures, didn't he?
Those fucking mutant dogs.
Those big sort of mutant dogs. And you managed to, I think Billem sort of carried him, actually. Billem saved his life there.
Billem's a big boy. Yeah, that's when they became bunkmates for a while. They were very, very close friends.
Pretty close.
Is that one of your apps, Mike?
No, that was one I found online, and then I just edited it.
Then you tweaked it.
Just tweaked it a bit, yeah.
That map could be straight out of MERP or something. You know, it could be a Middle Earth one. It's a classic RPG sort of map.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's like a Dyson-esque style map. I was really fortunate because I've deleted a load of stuff after I've just lost stuff from those early days that I didn't think I needed to keep. So when I found it, I was like, oh, thank God I've got that, because it just brings back some great memories. And you survived. You fought a frantic knight against this thing, the progenics organism.
Those dogs were horrific.
They were hard for.
Yeah, which were genetically engineered creatures that are a combination of Varga and the organisms and some of the native wildlife. And the lab you discovered had probably been the site of that. The lab was shot up and destroyed. It was abandoned. It had been abandoned for a decade or so. And these creatures tracked you down there, climbed over the chain link fence. Hello, puppy.
Genetically engineered psycho dogs.
The creatures climbed over the chain link fence, and you had to try and survive the night. Daryl Hannah died in that. I think, did Finian die as well?
Finian died.
Finian died as well. Only you guys, and I think Gary slipped in blood, didn't he? Gary's character Zim
he
tried to shoot. He tried to shoot one of the creatures.
He
tried to pull Kareen away.
He tried to pull one of the ladies away. It might have been Harold Dana, and then smashed her on the floor.
Yeah, and he slipped in the blood, didn't he? Or
yeah,
I think it went wrong anyway. Let's just say that it went wrong. And, but you guys did survive. You survived the night, and then from there you decided to head out to. You decided the mountains to the west were impassable, so then you went the other way towards the ruined city, which is there to the east, and you headed out to the east where you saw this sort of ruined city. You met some survivors.
Oh, we did.
You met some survivors living in the ruins, which was a surprise because it's not supposed to be inhabited. And from there, then Jedico arrived with their sort of dropship, and you had to. There was a bit of a frantic run. It was a bit like Black Hawk Down.
They had that truck with the machine gun in the back.
They had the truck with the machine gun and the net.
Yeah,
and everyone was running, and everyone the natives got mowed down.
Yeah,
with full automatic weapons, and then they captured Kareen, didn't they? The Ogman Raiders captured Kareen.
Zim wanted to go for Kareem, and then Dax was like, "Oh, I'm going to go and get her back. It'll be fine." And then we watched them just in one turn move the automatic weapon across the map and delete every single native survivor. And we were like, "Fuck if we're getting a ship."
Yeah, we're getting rid of that time.
The port. The wee Kareem is still down there.
She's still down there, yeah. So anyway, you escaped. You escaped and survived. And that was the end of our first 2 ever sessions. You spent about a month on Marduk, up fulfilling the contract and recovering from the shock and everything. And then from there, you went to Kalkai Salute, which was the water world.
This one.
Fucking squid.
Yeah. Then you went from the high port, you went down to the down port, and you went to generic.
Yes, we did went to generic, which is they pride themselves on the food is the same across the galaxy. Exactly like the Mackie D's of Traveller.
The Mackie D's of Traveller. And I think it was here, but I can't remember if it was the beginning of the scenario or at the end. You met two NPCs that you sort of met again a bit later.
Yes, we've met them a couple of times.
You met them a couple of times. I think you just met him, Tyler.
That's right.
At that time, Tyler, and that's his wife, Belle. Their ship is the Hopeful Wanderer. They're like tinkers, traders, small-time kind of stuff. Think of them as small-time space truckers.
That's upgraded art, isn't it?
Yeah.
That looks so much better. I mean, the original was good, but you've done that through the AI thing, haven't you?
That's AI art, that.
Because if you'd shown that to me, I'd have gone, I know who that is, but it's better. It's like you found an HD picture of them, a better picture of them on their Facebook profile. I know who it is.
You know who it is because it's sympathetic to the originals. Really.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you've got shitloads of time to prep a game. And while you were there on the downport, you saw the Thalassans. This Thalassan contingent.
Yeah.
Now, the Thalassans, think of the Thalassan Sargasso. These are transhumans.
So these are the underwater fuckers who commune with the
they're human. They were human. They've been genetically modified with fish DNA and amphibian DNA. So are they still human? They say they're still human, but it might beg to differ.
You forgot to doors like this.
and their presence gave Tyler the creeps because they've got these like flappy webbed feet, and he was like, "Oh, they give me the creeps, those fuckers." Anyway, from there, you left the high port, you went on a submarine, and you came to the city, this underwater city, Calixicuel.
Oh,
Now, because Kalkai Salute is a water world, it's got a population problem, lack of people, lack of places to live, too many people. So they were rebuilding this ancient Sindalian era city. I don't think it was Sindalian Empire, but it's an ancient city that had been flooded, and they were trying to rebuild it. And they had this new fusion power plant from a starship. It was an ancient thing, but it worked. And you guys had been sent there by Alexis Draven to help with the fusion reactor, and just to help with the renovations on this city. There is the actual map of the city, where you've got flooded areas, inhabited areas, flooded areas, inhabited areas, and you went there, and while you were there, you met Sinclair Krenoff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good art.
That's him, Sinclair Krenoff. He's the city governor, and he was like just glad to have you there. And while you were there,
Lando Calrissian, motherfucker.
No, it's Rod. It's Rod. Super Green. Rod Super. Oh, Rod something or other from Fifth Element.
Yes,
I'm trusting.
Yeah. I thought a bit of a Lando Calrissian look as well.
Look at him. He's got those eyes.
He's got those eyes, kind of. Yeah. So he was there to sort of greet you and say, thanks to Alexis for sending you over. We hope you'll be able to help us with the things that our local engineers have been able to figure out. And while you were there, Zim got approached by an avid fan.
It's super fan, yeah.
Super fan. Now, she'd heard of his work, and she said, what do you think about these? As you may be aware, Calixiquel, or Kalkai Salute rather, has these native these creatures, these like squid type creatures, which are intelligent, not intelligent in terms of self-awareness, but they display some intelligent behavior. And the current work of renovating the city was encroaching on their feeding grounds, and it was disturbing them. They're clearly an important species, and no one really said much about it. And anyway, overnight, while you were sleeping there was this disaster, wasn't there? The squid had attacked a sub, and the sub had driven into the side of the city. There was a breach, and this area you were in was becoming flooded. So people were pouring out. It was a disaster. It's a disaster movie. People were pouring out. That was when I used audio, and I set the siren up.
Yeah.
And you were sleeping in that. You were woken up in your beds, and there was like people spilling out into the corridors trying to escape. And Sinclair Krenoff said, "We've got to go down. Everyone's trying to go up. We've got to go down because we've got to get to if we can get to the fusion reactor at the bottom, we can get the power working, we can get the pumps working. So while there's water going in, you guys are going down. You guys are going down."
It was a fucking nightmare. I've never been so scared.
It was tense. And while you were down there, you went into one room that was flooded or half flooded up to the waist. And these were the alien squids that were there.
Fucking things.
And you nearly got killed. It was brilliant because Dax had gone down this chute that was flooded, and this thing went into the chute and was trying to kill him, but he was like fucking drowning.
I mean, it was the most nightmarish part of anything we've done so far. We were underwater, we couldn't breathe. These fucking things were jabbing at us. They were coming from places we couldn't see. They were getting
I think Bill M got injured and went and hid in a room.
Sounds like early Bill M.
Yeah, and the avid fan turned up as well, didn't she? Zim's greatest fan. She turned up and said, "Don't hurt that thing." She was there to protect it, and Silek killed her.
Fucking Psycho Silek. She was Zim's potential girlfriend, and that's when he became Psycho Silek. As an NPC, he went a bit mad, and he shot her in the stomach and killed her. And we were all like, "Whoa, Silek!" We did like a therapy thing with him afterwards, didn't we? We gave him some therapy because we thought he'd gone a bit psychotic.
Tried to give him some therapy. He was a bit resistant. Are we okay with you, Mickey, or should we?
Maybe we wait while Bill's taking his call.
I am still here for now. So,
okay. Yeah, if you need to take a break, mate, I'm just going to reach for a beer. Let me just take you to there.
Reaching into space to grab a beer.
There's the fusion
travel
reactor.
away.
Yeah.
That's my new favorite sci-fi influence. Right there, the wormhole into beer.
Yeah.
There's the fusion reactor.
Bring that with you to DerbyCon.
I will. There's the fusion reactor that you guys repaired.
Oh, God.
You got it going. You evacuated the people. You saved the day, and you saved the city. And you'll become heroes of that city. Become a little bit famous, actually.
Yeah, that was the worst thing ever happened to us.
Yeah, because now your faces are known.
Both me and Bill quite keen to avoid various people in our past, and we were on the fucking TV everywhere.
Everywhere. Now I can't remember where this next bit occurred, so I've put it in here, but you'll have to forgive me whether it wasn't really here. Little Sariv's Interstellar Trading Emporium.
Yeah,
is a big merchant ship.
Yeah,
where Bill bought his biogloop gun.
That was on the way back from Kalkai Salute. On the main map, we stopped off in a system. I think it was our first jump out from Kalkai Salute back towards sort of Drinax.
So
we stopped there, and that's where we met her.
Yeah, so that probably would have been. It would have either been Necrino then, or Hex.
It was Necrino. Yeah,
with Necrino, right?
Yeah, it was on Necrino we met them.
Right. I couldn't quite remember where it was, so I've just kind of put it there. As you were leaving Kalkai Salute, I'm pretty sure it was here, but it could have been Necrino or Hex. You met in space Asgare the Corsair, and Dax gave him he's a Varga punk space pirate whose entire fur is dyed pink. And he was firing at you. The New Dawn ship hasn't got weapons, so you just had to run for the jump point and try and make you jump. And as you made the jump, Dax flipped him the bird. Which was
around with no pink dogs, you bitch.
Which was brilliant. And that was pretty much the end of our I guess it was season 1 and 2. No, that was the end of season 1, wouldn't it?
That was season 1, yeah.
That was season 1. Okay. Into season 2. This is Necrino. This is the Grand Spire Havens, where winners go to play. This is where you did a bit of gambling. And you first heard...
Can you share that again, please, Mike? Because it dropped off my screen. I closed the wrong thing. Oh, yeah, that's it. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity,
yeah.
Season 1, how many sessions did you play for that?
4.
That was in 4 sessions. Got it. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, 4 sessions. Yeah, it was 4 sessions. It took us 2 to do Miranda Marduk and 2 to do...
I mean, we were doing good, chunky 3.5 hour sessions, weren't we? You know, we were doing like 7 till...
More than that, we were doing 4 or 5 hour sessions.
Yeah, we were like 7 till 11 plus.
Yeah, it was big.
Was that, and that was the beginning, that was lockdown when you guys all started, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
lockdown, yeah.
And I was absolutely exhausted after GMing those sessions. And I couldn't sleep as well because it was like new skills and it was exhausting. It was all new to us as well, wasn't it? In terms of...
I mean, completely. This was like the ultimate like satisfaction of sort of teenage role-playing fantasy, because we were doing it right. You know, we'd never met Gaz, and Gaz was playing a complicated science character. Me and Bill were definitely trying to find our characters at that point, because I'd rolled a very stereotypical sort of space pirate, and Dax evolved a bit from there to a little bit, not that different, but it was so new because it was kind of familiar but terrifyingly grown
different.
up. It was just wonderful.
While you were at Necrino doing a bit of gambling, can't remember whether it was here or whether it was somewhere else. Didn't keep very accurate notes in those days. Was where you first heard about the hull plate of the Jolly Roger.
Scurrilous Dave.
Which was the hull plate of Scurrilous Dave's famous ship, the Jolly Roger, that had been found. The ship had been found in Porn System, or Pornell, as its old name was. The ship had been found in this decaying orbit, sold for scrap because it was smashed up. The Starship fusion generator had been recovered, taken to Calcai Salute. The hull plate is a bit of pirate memorabilia. And you guys were like, oh, I think we want that. And that was from just a random rumor table that has actually spawned an entire sort of...
We did a bit of carousing, and we wanted that hull plate.
You want the hull plate. So you decided to head off towards Porn.
It's got an Iron Maiden album logo on it. I had to have it.
It's got an Iron Maiden logo album on it. You also went to Hex Highport, where you had a quick reconvene with...
Of course.
With Alexis.
That's beautiful.
Griffin. Yeah.
Alexis,
Alexis, and he was having an argument with his son on the telephone, whatever, while you were there. And then while you were there, while he was chatting to you, he said he had a contact for you.
Oh, I'd forgotten all about this.
Tisha Trevelyan. Tisha said she was an agent for King Oleb of Drinax, Oleb the 16th of Drinax. And that she was looking for free-minded privateers to do some work for the king.
That's new art, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much better. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so she was chasing you down, and or she was looking out for people, and your existence had come to her attention.
We were TV famous by then.
You were TV famous, yeah. So you went to Drinax, and you saw the blasted surface of Drinax. Drinax was bombarded, orbital bombardment, by the Aslan High-Rate a couple of 100 years ago. Because of where it is, it was on the trade route from the Imperium to the Aslan, and the kings of Drinax became a bit greedy. And they were increasing the taxes on the Aslan. And basically, they took the piss, and the Aslan went, "You're taking the piss, we're going to destroy you." So they just completely wasted they completely wasted it. You saw the Royal Palace of Drinax. The floating Palace of Drinax. It's the wonder of the Trojan Reach, the roost of the Royal Hawkmen, bastion of the Kingdom of Drinax, restored, and the county seat of the lost empire of Sindal, His Royal Highness, King Oleb the 16th.
Dive, my Hawkmen!
Dive! And it's floating up there. And the rest of the planet is a desolate wasteland. And basically the Aslan, they are not without a sense of humor. They devastated the surface. They left the royal palace intact, so that the king and rulers can just behold what is left. There's nothing left. So they can just live on and suffer. You were greeted when you arrived by the Royal Hawkmen of Drinax. They have these big holographic wings and grav belts, so they appear to fly. They appear to fly on these beautiful sort of holographic wings.
Also, the women have nipple lasers.
Yeah,
nipple lasers. Yes, it's like in Italy how some of the police women have high heels. It's like that. It's like that because
exactly like that.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
It's so similar that I don't think it needed referencing.
Yeah,
lasers.
I didn't spot the nipple lasers, to be honest.
It's the fact that the guy doesn't have them.
Spot the nipple lasers.
oh yeah, there's lasers on the nipples.
I didn't spot the nipple lasers.
Also, one point's this way, one point's this way.
They are slightly on the squiff, aren't they? But that's okay.
Slightly.
Every boob is good. I mean, like everything is normal.
That's the point. They're meant to be.
Yeah, every boob is a good boob. And these ones might just take your head off.
Yeah, burn your eyes out.
Also, I don't know where my ideas come from, but I've got an idea for my other character that I'd like to develop.
Yeah,
I must
Dan
make a
wants to
note.
play-
I don't know. I just know where nipple.
Not a
lasers-
Dranaxian Hawk Dan. Dan wants to play the nipple laser on the front of a sentient.
No, I want to be the. I want to
Sentient
play
nipple
the engineer that installs them. That's.
You see, that is the Dominic crease.
The Dominic crease.
The Dominic crease.
So
And then you
what's your
met
job
proper
as
pride.
well?
You know high heels.
Yeah.
I'm aware of them.
I was just thinking, remember Italian police? Oh, was that genius? Yes. Well,
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't miss the. I don't know how I didn't spot the nipple lasers. I'm glad I left them in though.
I love that the AI is like, we need to point out where the nipples are because men will like that.
Men will like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
AI is well evolved at this point.
how could I make this picture better?
Yeah. Oops. And nipple.
I know this will get a 95% approval rating. Yes.
And the AI is not wrong.
I know what I see exactly. It's totally going by. Anyway, yeah, brilliant. Love it.
Yeah. You met King Oleb the 16th, played by Brian Blessed, of
I
course.
was going to say he is so much more Brian Blessed than he was when we first met him, and he was played by Brian Blessed in the first instance.
Yeah. And he gave you your job really. He gave you, I didn't have this at the time, but this letter of Mark A, I think it is pronounced, that His Imperial Majesty King Oleb, etc., etc., etc. You can have a moment to read it. But basically, it says you are free to go pirating and privateering. And this is a letter of freedom to go forth and do that.
We didn't need a fat man's permission to go pirating, but it's nice that he's given it to us because, tacit approval and all that.
And what he was going to do was lend you this ship, the Harrier.
Yeah.
This is a Dranaxian commerce raiding Harrier. It's about 200, 300 years old. They recently found it, did it up to a certain level. It's worth, I think it's worth about 200 or 300 million credits. It's a military ship, fast as fuck. It's got a particle barbette that causes a devastating amount of damage. It's got cloaking system. Doesn't render you invisible to sensors, but does render you invisible to visible light, or you could disguise it as something else.
Yeah, physical scans.
Yeah.
Did you say he gave that to them?
He's lent it to them.
Yeah.
And basically, what he wants you to do, basically his campaign brief. Let me just lend you this. Let me just put that in. Show to players. Okay, this is your campaign brief. You are the pirates of Dranax. Your job is to disrupt trade across the Trojan Reach. Make elite alliances with various worlds to rebuild the kingdom of Dranax. Make your fortune, and don't forget to keep 10% of your ill-gotten gains back up to your patron. Basically, the kingdom of Dranax was 9 worlds. He wants it to be rebuilt, and he wants you to cause chaos so that the Imperium supports his claim. What he doesn't want are murdering scum. So
he picked the wrong fucking guys there, didn't he?
He doesn't want murderers, because actually being too overt will just create enemies. It's about building alliances, really. But a little bit of judicious use of violence is definitely supported. Here is the bridge of the Harrier.
Oh, it's glorious. I mean, it's ancient Sindel tech, isn't it?
It's a baroque beauty inside. You've got velvet drapes. You've got gold and chrome and brass fittings. You've got wooden chairs. You've got silverware. There's a meat locker. There's on the bridge there is a drinks cabinet. and you can, with chilled ice that it scoops up from the hydrogen. You know, whenever you scoop for hydrogen, it'll collect a bit of water vapor, and you get your ice from the gas giants. It's an absolute beauty. Here are the consoles. The interior, the command chair, flight control, fire control, electronics. There's a bit of a corridor there, and there's your engineering. The staterooms are absolutely beautiful. It's more like a super luxurious hotel, but some of it's a bit faded as well. Some of the drapes are a bit threadbare. It's a few hundred years old, don't forget. And some of the stuff has been removed and replaced with cheap copies.
Pornography into toilets is woefully lacking.
Toilets are woefully lacking. Here's the common room. That table can be moved, and there's actually served. There's no medical bay, although you've got a kind of auto dock that you stuck in one of the. You remember that? You remember the Alien movie, Alien Covenant, where she's got that auto dock and she gets in it, and is it Alien Covenant or Alien? Might be. Is it Prometheus? Might be. I think it's Prometheus, where she gets in and she tries to get the thing cut out of her.
Yeah, it's Prometheus.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's Prometheus. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like an auto dock, and it will do surgery on you. So you got one of those, and that's now in a stateroom. So because you've not got a medical bay, but you've got one of those. Here is the Harrier's deck plan. You've got cargo bay, holds just shy of 30 tons. There's 8 cold berths, which are like cold cryopods. Yeah. Long sort of corridor on the ground on the lower deck there that leads to the sort of sensor array. And there's a cargo scoop up there as well. So if you end up blasting a ship, you can, and the cargo falls out, you can sort of scoop it up. The upper deck is where it's a bit posher in the upper deck. That's where your staterooms are, and that's where the bridge is. It's got 2 weapons. It's got the particle barbette, which is it's a long-range weapon, very long-range weapon, devastating amounts of damage. It irradiates the target, so the target can take radiation damage. Power hungry, but it's doable. You've also got but it's damaged at the moment. It got damaged.
That's right. Did we repair it but couldn't afford missiles, or is it still damaged? I couldn't remember.
It's still damaged, I think. I honestly can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, we've never used it. We never bought any missiles or anything. I think it's still good.
That's the particle barbette. No, the missile rack.
Yeah.
You did get the missile rack repaired.
Yeah, but we haven't got any missiles because
you haven't got any missiles. Yeah, because they're expensive. But you had the missile rack repaired.
Yeah.
On Tech World.
That's right.
There was that scene. There was that scene where the robot in the high-vis jacket was going for no other reason than it was hilarious. And they loaded that missile rack. So you can find missiles. You've not got any missiles. They are expensive, but I think the price has come down in the new version.
That's good, because we'd have to. Depending on how lucky we got, we'd have to raid a couple of ships to pay for one missile. Sometimes you shoot them out of the sky, and then you're like, "Oh, they didn't have any shit."
Yeah, I think they've reduced the price so that they are worth getting. So we'll just go with the new rules. You met while you were there. You probably didn't really meet. You saw Prince Harrick, who is Oleb's son. Now, rumor is he was terribly injured a few years ago and regrown. He survived, but is it still him? People say he's got that many cloned and regrown parts and augmentations. Is it really still him? But anyway, that's Prince Harrick. You met Princess Rao. One of the other bonuses from the restoration of the Kingdom of Drinax is that you'll become earls of your own worlds, and one of you will gain the princess's hand in marriage.
I've forgotten that.
One of you will regain the princess's hand in marriage. So your descendants will become heirs to the whole Kingdom of Drinax.
Well, I don't want to be rude, but it's not going to be fucking Pig Boy, is it?
It's not really like you now, Lord Rax of the Starguard.
That's amazing. Look at that art.
He did not like you.
No, he did not.
He did not like you. He was like, what are you giving this fantastic ship to these, like, don't know anything about them. They're pirates. They're scum. Like, they don't deserve anything. So he is not your friend. He's not your enemy, but he's certainly not your friend.
I was less bothered by his scorn when he looked a lot wankier. Now he looks quite intimidating.
Yeah.
Proper nails.
Yeah, proper nails. Now, it was on Drinax where you caught your first glimpse of the Aslan.
Of course.
This is Casil of the Auho-Ray. The Auho-Ray is an Aslan clan, and Casil is an outcast prince. Outcast from his people. He lives there at the Kingdom of Drinax. You didn't speak to him, but you saw him about. There's a couple of other people you saw as well. You saw the scholar Voha, who very much the most learned of the Drinaxians. He has this tower, or runs this tower, which has access to all sorts of ancient information and knowledge. Finding it is the difficult thing because a lot of it is in different formats. You also met...
Pin spent a bit of time with him, didn't he?
Zim.
Zim, yeah.
Zim
The other of Gary's very similar sounding characters.
Yeah. Gary loves a three-syllable,
with an I in the middle.
Three-letter character, yeah. You also met this guy, Ranchando.
Oh, Ranchando.
Ranchando is a merchant who sells high-tech gadgets and relics off-world and imports vitally needed supplies. He's a bit of a wheeler dealer. Think of him as a bit of a Del Boy character.
He looks like, is it Gabriel Byrne?
Yes, he does.
He looks like, as soon as you pulled it up, I was like, it's like Gabriel Byrne.
That's the look I was going for.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's the look I was going for. Now, Princess Rao told you about the way to get your first score. There'd been some raiding on two worlds adjacent to Drinax. If you look on the map, there's one called Torpol, which is there's Torpol. And there's Clark, just to the west of Cordan and slightly above Drinax. Not far from Marduk at all. And there'd been some raiding on those worlds, and they were offering some fat rewards to capture these raiders. So she said, might be worth going over there, seeing what leads there are, and seeing if you can track down these raiders. And in fact, it was like 1.5 million credits from Torpol, and I think 750,000 or 500,000 from Clark. So there was basically about 2.5 million credits to be gained by tracking down these pirates who'd raided these planets. So you went to Torpol. You didn't bother going to Clark, but you went to Torpol. And Torpol is like a leisure world. Again, another water world. It's like a Caribbean holiday, 24 hours a day. There are floating cities that stay in the sun. So it's the best destination in the Trojan Reach. And it's run by these merchant princes. They call themselves the provosts. And it's all about the money, baby. And this guy always had a bourbon in his hand. And when you were with him, you were never without a drink. And he told you that that they had these orbital factories, which were manufacturing facilities. One of them had been raided, and the pirates, and stuff had been stolen. So he sent you off on I can't remember what the exact clue was to sort of. There was a guy, wasn't there? There was a guy who was. I forgot about him actually. There was a guy who was like having a drink, and he'd been shot at by these raiders, and he chased the raiders off because he had like this pop-up turret. He chased these raiders off, and from there, I can't remember how you sort of came to it, but you found your way to this ancient station that was a ruined Sindalian relic on the
bad news.
Yeah, you found this ancient Sindalian relic on the sort of edge of the system that you explored, looking for clues. And while you were there, you met these things, or you met this thing. It was only one of them. This was a Kamax. It's a big sort of like secretes acid from its fangs, not from its blood, but it's a bit of a sort of a, what's that film with that's written by Robert Heinlein, not Robert Heinlein. What's that film with the big insects when it's like, I'm doing my part?
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers. It's a big Starship Troopers type kind of insectoid kind of creature.
It looks like a spider fucked a pug. Look at its face.
Yeah, I can't really see. Oh yeah, it's got a face. Yeah, so
it's got pug face.
It's got a pug face. So I've missed the face. I should have edited that. Never mind. It's got big fucking claws and big teeth. And you fought this thing in the corridor, and actually you pretty much demolished it. So later on I was thinking, probably should have put a few of those in, made the threat.
No, we were all right.
Made the threat a bit harder. And on that station, hiding, you met our friend, Kirsch.
Oh God, of course, that's where we met Kirsch.
You met Kirsch the Varga. Now, Kirsch was a lieutenant of Ferric Redthane. The pirate Ferric Redthane.
The best NPC to ever live.
The pirate Ferric Redthane had conducted these raids, and that's who you were after. That's who you were trying to track down. And Kirsch had basically fucked up and had been left on this ancient station with this thing to die. So he was hiding, and it was only a matter of time before this thing got him, or he ran out of food and became desperate. So you saved him, and he said, we could probably track down Ferric on the pirate world of Thieves. Now, Thieves was too far away to go. If you look at the distance on the map from Torpol Borite to Thieves,
you can't do it.
Can't do it. But he told you about a secret space dump.
Damn right he did.
A secret fuel dump just located on galactic south of Palindrome.
Empty space
where there's like a special kind of dump. And he gave you the coordinates for that, and you jumped to that, you fueled, and from there you went to the system of Thieves. Now, Thieves,
I think it's
Thieves, yeah, I think we'll call it Thieves.
I mean, Thieves as the den of hidden pirates seems a bit on the nose. I like Thieves.
Yeah, I've always thought it as Thieves. So Thieves.
I also like. I'll never forget, because we argued for ages about, do we jump to this system? Because we don't trust this Varga.
Yeah.
We land in space and that fuel depot isn't there, or we don't have the access codes to it. We'll just die in space because we don't have enough fuel to jump onto Palindrome or anywhere else. It was like our one shot. And because we jumped to.
The other thing you can do on this map is, I don't know if you can sort of see this.
Oh, you can plot a route.
You can plot a route.
Oh.
So it's showing how many parsecs and things like that.
Sorry, I remember Dax was like, yeah. This is a plot point. There'll be the fuel depot. It'll be great. We'll jump there. And we're like, yeah, we'll jump. And as we jumped, Billum and Zim were like, but what if it's not there? And I was like, whoa. Nobody told me it might not be there.
Is it worth taking a short break while Mickey does that?
I got to my phone. I thought you'd hung up.
Wonder if
we could just kick back and chat about some of the stuff. That's a lot of info. I mean, I forgot how much we'd done.
Yeah, we're about halfway through the campaign review.
I genuinely didn't.
It's only 10:20.
Yeah,
so
I don't want to. Well, we are probably going to spend the whole time catching up, but I hope you don't feel that I'm.
I think this is good. This is really good. Especially, I'm sure it's good for you, Rob, because you're recapping, and it's good for me because I'm experiencing you going, oh, of course, oh, this and that. But for me, it's
was to fill it all in. And the other thing was we're recording it. If Phil was to join us at some point, he could just look at this and just watch it and say, he could watch it, he could watch it and he'll get a gist of what's going on. And that'll be a sort of easy sort of recap.
No, I wouldn't rush it. Don't rush it.
Just to give you a sort of timeline, just to give you a heads up, I'll probably be about 5-10 minutes on the call, and then I should be back, and I should be able to be back in the call. I'll be back in this. So give me sort of 5-10 minutes.
Okay,
it's probably that. So you might as well grab a drink or something if you it's
okay, mate.
Yeah,
that's good, mate. I'm just going to nip for a wee, actually. I'll be right back.
This is really good. Yeah,
it's been so long since we did any of this, but because this was the very first session we did, I was like, I can't wait to get back to Traveller. I'm looking forward to not GMing and just being able to sit back and be a player. And then Mike's chucked all this stuff up, but to do it all, 90% of it is new art.
Yeah, okay.
And it's close enough that I know where it came from, but it's all cooler, better art.
Yeah.
It's almost like somebody remastered your favorite sci-fi series.
So it's had a glow up, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, here we go. Yeah. This is like the relaunch of B5, and it's the whole thing again. The plot's the same, but we've got a special effects budget, and it wasn't done on an Amiga. And here we go. It's like shit. Yeah,
this is very cool.
I forgot how much we'd done in all this time.
That's the thing I was surprised about was when I said, how many sessions was it that first season? That was 4 sessions. Now, I know it was like you doing 4 5-hour sessions, so 20 hours of play, but it's like, wow, you got through a lot, right?
Well, I was going to say, like, the last Wolf Brothers was 11 sessions, I think, and they would call it 2.5 hours each. So that's still like 30 hours.
Yeah.
And in 20 hours, we got through, I think, 10 times as much.
So much stuff. This is awesome, though. It's really good.
I do think also it took us a while to get into character and to start to role-playing character. Like, Mike builds these amazing universes, and I think in the first few sessions, we were just like, what do we do? Where do we go? Whereas, like, we play Wolf Brothers now, and it's like, well, you're gathered around the fire, what do you do? And we do half an hour on, well, this is how so-and-so's feeling, and I quite like that. We sort of build it into a bigger session where less happens.
Yeah. I think, like, just building the relationships is great. I think I'll just tell you about this, Dan. Obviously on that top right bar.
Journal, yep.
And if you go down, you will see there's 2 things there. There's one tab called System Data. And if you open up System Data, that's got a little bit about every world that that the group have been to. So if we pulled up TEVE, it says it's which is where we'll cover next. It's got a starport, excellent starport, high tech. So the numbering system where it's A434500F, it's a hexadecimal system. Okay, so you get 1 to 9, and then 10 is A, 11 is B, 12 C, D, E, F. F is usually the sort of top. It will be a 15. So A, starport A, excellent. That's the best you can get. Size 4, it's size 7. If you think of the number 7 as being Terra, typical average, like nowadays. So size 7 is about size of Terra, so it's smaller than Terra. Atmosphere 7 is standard. It's very thin atmosphere on TEVE. It's a little bit like Mars. It's a smaller, cold very thin rock. You couldn't breathe without a suit there. It's got a bit of ice. It's got a bit of water, but the water is ice caps.
Okay.
So no water on the surface. Small population, 900,000. There is no government. There is not much in the way of law. Oh, law level 0. It should be no prohibitions. That should be no prohibitions. Let me just change that.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I definitely had my shotgun on Teve, and I know I cut some fucker's eyes out.
Yeah, that should say no prohibitions, law level 0. Basically, there is no law. And also, it's technically the Imperial Maximal Technology. So high tech, there is no law.
Fucking thieves, man. Teve is like the greatest system.
You can
ever.
buy anything. It's ruled by these, they call it the Fabled Thieves' Port. It's a pirate's refuge where lawlessness is king and the Imperium's police patrols cannot reach. It's a bit of a legend in some areas. It's a dust bowl, but you've got the main city, Black Sand, Port Black Sand, and the city is on the side of this. There's this big canyon, this big sort of canyon, and the high city, the upper. There's an environmental dome over the city, and then it covers part of the canyon, and then going down the sides of the canyon and built into the sides of the canyon, and on the canyon floor, you've got the Undercity.
Right. Okay. Like the hive. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and the rich and the well-off and those who are doing well live in the upper city, and in the lower city.
And are they like the arms dealers, like that level of like the profiteers of the wars and stuff and everything? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to buy something, if you need a service, that's the place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Those people who've not done well, they live in the lower city.
Fucking
They might aspire to getting back out there, or they might be happy living there. And the city is kind of lawless, but there is a law of sorts. You've got the law of the street, and you've got the law of the lords. So anything that could threaten the existence of the city, anything that could pierce the dome, is very illegal. You'll be killed, and there's no trial. You just be killed.
Yeah.
And but outside of that, in the lower city, that's law jungle, man. Do what you want. So that is the city of Teve. And it's ruled by these pirate lords. Some of them are known, some of them are not known, some of them are mysterious. Yeah, some of them are mysterious. We shall come to them as soon as Mickey reads.
We will, because some of them are less mysterious now.
Do you know where my mind went visualizing straight away to split that? How I would imagine that was like the underworld is Necromunda in my head,
Yes.
right? That's what that is like.
Yep.
Scrapping, fighting, lawless, doing whatever you can. And then the upper world is Canto Bight. So that's, the Star Wars when they go to the casino, because that is purely, that's the wealthy, that's but they're all selling, dealing between, like they have ships selling to smugglers, selling to they're weapons dealers, they're spice dealers, everything but of the upper level, which is why you have the opulence of Canto Bight. And so that's kind of how it's cool that it's all in one place though, right? That you've got this upper city of nothing but decadence,
money
and wealth, but it's still in the but it's sinister, right? The means in how it's been gained. I love that. That's really cool.
And then there's the lower city where you might go for, nasty stuff.
Oh no, but you win the nasty stuff. You get those who have no idea that you used to be part of one of the most feared pirate gangs in all of the world. Not only do you stab them to death, cut their fucking eyes out, which was it was a revelation even to me when Dax did that. He had this pair of fucking blue cyber eyes. So I killed him and I cut his cyber eyes out and I just took them with me, and all his mates fucked off at that point. They're like, Jesus Christ.
That was great. That was great. I might just these were the thugs. Obviously, we'll come back to them in a moment.
That was like my first point of character development, where I was like, oh god, yeah, there he is, fucking Mickey Blue Eyes, and these psycho bastards. And
guy on the right looks like Danny Trejo.
I'm back.
Yes,
sorry.
it does.
You back, mate?
I'm back. Yeah, back. At least I'm around anyway. I forgot.
Yeah.
I just saw the picture flick up there of these guys. Man, awesome dudes.
This was for me the first point of character development, because Dax did something that while I was doing it, I was like, shit, what is he doing? But that's what Dax would do. Yeah,
Dax would do.
He's a big badass pirate. You don't fuck with him.
Dax would do.
I've skirted forward a little bit because as you approach Teve, you got your first sight of the high port, the skull.
The skull.
Now the skull is a moon, small moon, with a skull carved into the face.
Jeez.
That's not a moon.
That's not a moon. And you as you approached, Kirsch gave you the access codes, because basically you're greeted and they say, transmit access codes or be destroyed. Access to the system is strictly forbidden. You grant your access codes. It's an older code, but it checks out.
Boobies.
Yeah. And you were allowed to progress. You were allowed to progress. You were allowed to progress down to the system. There's black sand.
Nice.
You've got these towers, these sort of cyberpunkish kind of like cities, futuristic cyberpunkish cities. You've got this deserty red sky covered by this dome. And there are many vehicles flying around from city to city. A lot of them have got landing pads. It's all very strange, all very sort of strange. When you arrived, you were greeted by one of the Black Sand Widows. Now, the Black Sand Widows are a cybernetically enhanced clones with a hive mind. And you were warned that there are two rules here. There's the law of the street and there's the law of the lords. Carry no weapon that can pierce the dome and cause no threat to the running of the city. But above and beyond that, do as you will. There is no trial. There is no jury. Transgression of any form will be met swiftly with death. And then you went on your way. And then you had a little mooch around the upper city. And for me, this was my weakest session, where we'd transferred to using Fantasy Grounds, and I was spending more time trying to faff around with that system than I was about developing pace and story. So it was definitely my weakest in terms of what I felt happy about after the session.
It's really interesting, because I remember bumping into you in the village the week after you'd done that, and you were like so tired at the end of it. It was like my weakest session. Really didn't like.
I was really upset.
You really were. And I just remember thinking, we had a fucking brilliant time. We went to a pirate world. It was like none of us noticed. It's one of those things we do to ourselves as GMs.
Yeah.
It really is, because it was a great sesh.
I think we were also in that point where we were experimenting as to how far you can go with the tech.
Yeah,
and I think we went way far. I think we properly experimented with how far you can go with the tech, and I think we've all kind of come quite a long way back now to.
Apart from Gary, who, if he doesn't put a penny in the meter, he occasionally shows us his entire plot for 3 seasons worth of this game, and then vanishes for 20 minutes.
There's all my NPCs. So anyway, there's the upper city with its towering spires, walkways, hidden places, and ships that fly from corner to corner. And Teve got you to arrange a meeting, because you were still on the trail of Ferric Redthane here.
Yes.
And he arranged a meeting with Ferric Redthane's old boss. And he arranged this meeting at a place called the Rose Pavilion, which was a hotel. Beautiful, beautiful hotel with a garden, with lots of plants and trees, and you could almost forget where you were. Really, it's so lovely. And you met the pirate lord, who's known as Admiral Darrakin.
Jeez Louise.
Son of a bitch.
Admiral Darrakin is a renegade imperial admiral who ran from the Imperium and is now a pirate lord. He's one of the most powerful pirate lords with a vast fleet. I think he's got about 30 or 50 ships. And he is one of the pirate lords of Thieves. There are many of them. And he said Red Thane had crossed him. And if you were to bring him down, he'd look on that as he'd do you a favor in the future. Didn't really say what that was. And he said, I don't know where he is personally, but I know where his lackey is. A woman called Miria Silverhand. He knows where she is. She's hiding out in the Undercity.
Of course.
In the lower city. So he said, if you find her, you'll find him. And I want proof. I want proof that you've killed him. It's really important that he's killed. Can't remember. Did he offer to give you something? He just said he'd be a friend, didn't he?
Yeah, he was sort of going to owe us a favour if we killed Theric.
Yeah.
Darrakin's a prick.
Darrakin is a prick. So you went from there. There are the Black Sand Canyons. So you've got this canyon.
Oh, that image.
You've got this canyon with city built, accommodation built into the side. Some of it's tunneled in. Some of it's roughly built on the sides, and then it spills.
Is this an AI? Is this AI art again? Like everything you're showing us tonight, these feel like mostly updated pictures.
They're mostly updated, and that's AIR. Although I added, see on the top right corner of those Black Sand Canyons,
yeah,
that's the dome. I added the dome in.
That's really similar to the original. They're all similar enough to the original that
I don't want it to be too different.
No, but it's like Rob said earlier. It's like going from watching TV on our old screens when we were kids to watching a 4K screen.
Yeah. I wanted it to feel like the fourth season has had a bit of an injection of cash.
Yeah,
they've got some new special. They've got some new special effects.
They've now got the money to pay Dan to do a decent job, not whatever shitmonger they had before.
So there's so you went down, you worked your way down through the Black Sand Canyons, down into the lower city. And this is the lower city, the hive where the detritus live, where they survive. And that is where you met these thugs. The thugs of Peter Vellis. Peter Vellis is one of the pirate lords of Thieves. And you met these guys who were just small-time hoodlums, cybernetically enhanced, and you fought a street battle. You killed them all, and Dax tore the eyes out of the guy on the top left and wears them as some sort of trophy. Thing is, though, you've pissed Peter Vellis off because he's now taking that as a personal assault.
I don't give a fuck. His guys come against me. His guys go down.
You worked your way through and you met a couple of little scroats. Do you remember those little scroats?
We had those, the little scroat kids.
The little scroat kids, Levi and Waggy.
Oh, yes.
I remember their names, Levi and Waggy.
I forgot the names.
Yeah. You met them in this little bar and they said they'd seen this woman. They'd seen her hiding out. There was this wreck of old ships and stuff. They just call it the scrapyard. It was old ships and broken down vessels that were just fused together in a bit of even the low life. It's where the low life of the lower city live, a real sort of dumping ground. And you went over and you fought this battle. I should have put the map of that ship on. That's really annoying.
That battle was brutal.
It was a two-story jobby, wasn't it? We had to go up into the top deck of it where they were, and then there was the guy with a robotic arm, and there was an explosion.
It was her at the end. She set her arm off, didn't she, to explode?
Dax
was running in, and suddenly her arm was going to blow up. It was We had to,
Yes.
didn't I chop her arm off and throw it out of a window or something?
Chopped her arm off, yeah.
Because it was going to explode. It was fucked up.
She had you pinned down because it had that long corridor, didn't it?
Yeah, and they were just.
And she was just firing the machine gun, and you had to like work your way down to try and get at her. And she had a bit of armor on as well, so it made it a bit difficult to take her out from a distance. You had to sort of take her out with the monoblade.
She's got a fucking Emperor's Aquila on.
I was just going to say she's got a las gun.
Yeah, she can suck a dick, golden
So
las
she
gun,
has. Anyway, she told you that before you killed her, that Ferric was hiding out on this frozen moon on the out system, waiting for her to sort of like rejoin him.
We hated him so much at this point as well. We were out for blood to kill Ferric.
Out for blood to kill Ferric.
Oh my gosh. I've just thought there's absolutely no reason this isn't actually precursor to the year 30,000, is there? I mean, it fits.
No. There's the dark age of technology.
Yeah, it's all there. It's like this is the. Oh wow. Anyway.
So there is the heavy gravity, which was a ship that you decided to, as you were leaving Teve, you saw this ship and you were like, you know what, let's fucking get that on the way out.
Billum was like, that's a San Simeon ship, let's fuck it up.
Yeah, you fucked it up. I don't think you even realized it was a San Simeon ship, actually. I think it was just a ship, but it was a San Simeon ship, aka a can of worms.
We fucked it though.
You fucked it up.
And we took shit off them. Isn't that where we got like the gravity bikes and the?
You got the gravity bikes. You got the Gecko ATV.
Yes, the ATV. Yeah, we stole a lot. That was our first act of proper piracy.
10 tons of assault weapons. That was your first act of piracy.
Didn't we fill a hole with that? I mean, like basically, we filled the entire ship. We took as much as we could.
Took as much as you could. You made a shitload of cash off that. And as you were robbing them, the guy said, "Listen, lads, I suggest you walk away because if you do this, what you're doing, you're opening up a ton of shit. You're opening up. You're going to make things bad for yourself. Like it's turn back now, or." And you guys went, fuck off. We're doing it anyway.
San Simeon already hates Billum. Let's fucking out.
From there, and after you'd done that bit of first act of piracy, you track down Ferric Redthane to this frozen outer moon, methane atmosphere moon, where he was hiding, and the Harrier found him. And here he is.
Oh God, if you've updated him, I'm going to...
Oh my gosh.
Let's just pause here. You are talking about the first man who has ever slightly made Dax question his sexuality. We hunted this man like we hated him. We were going to bombard him to death. And as we shot him through the atmosphere, he was just stoned off his tits. And he was like, boys, let's go. It's going to be fine. And Dax was like...
He drops a bombshell. He dropped a bombshell, didn't he?
He was... Yeah, we did. He revealed the deep, dark secret.
There was a reveal. He said...
He's the man Dax really wants more than anyone in the universe on his pirate crew.
When he hailed you, or when you hailed him, there was this haze of space marijuana smoke in the room. So they're all getting absolutely wankered. They're all stoned.
And you did your literal best voice ever.
I did my best.
Your Ferric Redthane voice is
Yardy voice ever. Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
And he said, if you've been sent by Admiral Darrakin to get me, let me tell you, he's a snake in the grass. He ain't no pirate lord. He ain't no pirate lord, man.
Thank you. I was going to say, he didn't say it like that, did he, Mikey?
Him ain't no pirate lord. Him Darrakin, him a snake in the grass, man. And he basically said, Darrakin, KMT, he's still Imperium. He's still Imperium, bruh. Like, he's still one of them. He's a plant. He's betraying everyone. And I got the evidence, man. So he said, the evidence is, or I found the evidence, but the evidence is on Darrakin's ship.
Yeah.
It's on his ship. So he said, if you let me go, man. And you decided, you just liked him too much. So there was a 2.5 million bounty. There was let's just pause for Dan. Yeah, she might be saying, fucking wrap it up, mate. Have you got to go, Dan? Or should you okay? No. So he was saying there's a 2.5 million bounty.
Just saying good night.
Yeah. There's a 2.5 million bounty, and you guys walked away from it.
You couldn't pay me enough to kill that man. He is the greatest pirate next to me that has ever flown the spaceways.
Oh man, I loved him so much. Right. This is probably quite a lot here, so I'll just try and get through it quick as I can. You went from there, so you decided you weren't going to take the prize money, you were just going to go. And then it was like, well, what do you want to do next? You went from Teve and you worked your way back. You decided you were going to chase up this hull plate of Scurrilous Dave.
Did we go on Darrakin's ship and try and get the data, or did we just decide not to?
No, because as you were leaving Teve, there was a message saying, I think it was Darrakin sent you a message saying, Peter Valus is on to you.
Yeah,
he finds you, he's going to kill you. I suggest you get out of here, high low. Don't come back for at least a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so you're basically, you've got a bit of another 6 or 7 or 8 months before you can sort of go back. So you sort of legged it. You didn't go and chase up Darrakin. But then you were like, I was like, what do you want to do? And we started the next season chasing up on that. You decided you liked that lead about the hull plate of the legendary pilot Scurrilous Dave. You're going to chase that down. So that took us to Porn, or Pornell, which is all the way back down near Drenax. And we just kind of like fast forwarded to that scene.
Well, we christened the main city there Pornhub.
Pornhub.
Which I don't believe is the actual name of it, but it's stuck.
It's stuck. Porn is a Venusian type hell world with mining on it. And surrounding it, there's all these orbital space stations. And Porn Station 1 was the capital, 27 or 30 odd kilometers long. It's got a population of about 3 million who live pretty good life. There's the station interior. It's what's called an O'Neill cylinder. So it rotates, people live on the inside, and it spins up gravity. It rotates at different speeds depending on what mood people are in. You heard about this guy, Governor Barry Lomas.
Oh God, yeah.
Who was the imperial? Like, you'd arrived actually. He was getting married, wasn't he? Barry Lomas.
Right. Wasn't he marrying an android? Oh, that's right.
No, marrying an AI.
That's right.
Chantalex Idoru is a virtual holo star. She's a hologram.
He's marrying an AI OnlyFans.
Yeah, she's a real girl though, and he's marrying her. It's very not done. It's very weird, but he's marrying her. So the city was there was a bit of relaxation. I want you to imagine Porn as being a bit like Singapore. Very strict, very clean, very neat, very flash.
They did not like us.
They didn't really like you. You were digging a bit around the edges, and you were like, I want to find out about this ship that had been salvaged. And you met this guy, Jeffrey Cote, the salvage hauler.
Cote!
Yeah.
He had a bit of a northern accent, aye. And he had one cybernetic arm, pretty old, and a missing eye. And he told you he'd found this old ship out by the gas giant, and it was decaying orbit. So it was been there for a few hundred years. So they salvaged it, sold it on, broke it up into bits and pieces, sold out that Starship Drive. Starship Drive were in good nick, fusion drive, and sold it to this naval breakers yard. I think they took it over to that Kalkai Saluti for one of their cities, underwater cities. Anyway, there was this hull plate, the hull plate for the Jolly Roger. There it is again. And he sold this hull plate to an antique dealer by the name of Avon Averis.
That's the fucker.
Avon, you got Avon drunk?
We did. We got him shit-faced.
You got him shit-faced. You showed him the interior of your ship, which he'd called the coup de grace. And he told you that he'd sold the hull plate to this Soleimani adventurer, this Soleimani explorer.
Oh, yeah.
Who basically he came into the shop, he looked at the plate, he seemed to take some photographs of it and run it through a computer, like a laptop, and then looked very, very happy. And then he went off.
Just say he reminds me of Hugh Fernley Whittingstall if he was playing Lovejoy.
That's uncanny. Turns out Dan might be AI. We may have to purge him. Because I think that's what the AI has done here. You've gone antique stealer, English old.
Yeah, English old. Yeah.
So
It's cool. This artwork is so good, though.
Yeah,
I'm loving these pictures.
So you were chatting to him. You were trying to find out where this guy went. He didn't really know. The trail seemed to have gone cold. As you were leaving, you got arrested by the PBI.
Oh, that guy. Oh, he's got new art.
No, that's the old one. That's the original one. Yeah, that's Nevin. Really? Yeah, Nevin Ural, who's the Pornell Bureau of Investigation.
I remember because we had the arguments we had with him aboard ship.
It was the next guy. It was his lieutenant Cal Hazal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this was the lieutenant. This was the chief guy who said, you've been arrested. Your ship looks a bit military, a bit flash. You're probably up to something, but actually we could do with you because that fast flash ship. There's been a strange ship been seen in the outer system, and it keeps appearing, disappearing. We can't find it. We want to know what it's up to. So he said, we want you to go in and check it out, and if you do that, we'll let you go, and we'll give you a bit of cash as well. But I want my lieutenant Hal Kazal. This is the guy who
the Ethan Hawke dude.
Yes, and he caused there was a bit of arguing on the deck, and Dax
had to restrain him, didn't he?
Had to restrain him because he was being an arse. He tried to take over, didn't he?
He tried to take over, and also we wanted to try and board what turned out to be an Aslan ship, and he was like, "No, don't do that." And we're like, "Fuck off, we do what we want."
There's the Aslan stealth ship.
Stealth my ass, fucking got him, didn't we?
Wasn't as stealthy as you. And it was there where you met the Aslan Asayul.
Now, did I ever tell you about how I defeated an Aslan in single combat? I'm just saying, when we've got time, we'll have a drink. I'll tell you all about it. This was amazing.
He said, we're not going anywhere. If you want to make us go somewhere, do something. And you guys were like, oh shit, what should we do? You decided to settle it. You challenged him to a duel. Dax challenged him to a duel. And the agreement was that whoever lost would depart.
Yeah.
And Zim stimmed you up.
Zim pumped me full of all the drugs in the world. It was a duel to first blood, wasn't it?
Duel to first blood, yeah.
It was the idea of who could draw first blood, and Zim just absolutely rammed me full of drugs. And I think it took me something like 2 weeks to recover from the fight because of the toxins in my system. But my reflexes were so good that I went basically under his guard and just slashed him open. And they loved us after that.
They loved you after that. And he said, okay, you've won the battle. He actually instantly liked you. He said what he appreciated was your balls, really. He was like, you've got balls to sort of challenge me to single combat. But I'm warning you now, you need to get out of here because there's a storm coming.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we're part of a scouting expedition, and there's a storm coming this way.
But we got our monkey knives, didn't we? Which is important.
And he gave you those ceremonial knives, which only are given to humans who have got the favor of in Aslan society. Because the Aslan have got this claw.
It's like a dew claw, isn't it?
Dew claw, yeah. And this is like a ceremonial thing that humans get. They're called monkey knives. So you left, you sort of resolved that situation, went back to Pornell, went back to the High Port, where you engaged in wine, women, and song.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And it was while you were engaged in Wine, Women and Song.
No.
This happened.
Was
This
that
happened.
was that here or was that on Tech World?
It was here.
Oh shit. Oh no, Tech World's where I banged that Australian girl.
Texas where you banged the Aussie girl, yeah. Yeah.
That's a story for another time.
It was this woman. He can't.
Oh, there she
Makes
is.
me irrationally angry still.
Hikanu Lu, who Bill M just had their hearts for.
But it wasn't that. It was the damsel in distress syndrome. Billen was being his proper gentleman self.
You saw her in I should have put a picture of the bar up, but you saw her in this bar. You guys were drinking in this bar. Zim wasn't there.
Yeah, Zim wasn't there, and we made bad decisions. That is a recurring theme in this mission.
and there were these gangsters in there, low life, and they were hassling her, weren't they? And you guys, ever valiant, went to try and unhassle her.
Billen was valiant. I just wanted to mess up some posers.
Yeah. Turns out it was a trap.
Oh,
it was a trap. It's a trap. And she went round the back.
I'll never forget that moment when because she was behind us, and we were fighting them off, and she was behind us, and she basically just stunned us in the back. And I remember, we were fighting, and then it came to her turn or something, and she did that to us, and it was one of those first moments of what?
There were two moments there. The first one was, and I think it's that guy in the top left. Dax went up and was like, I'll get this, Bill. I'll get this. And Bill was getting her to one side and making sure she was out of the way of them. And Dax put his hand out and was like, "We don't want any trouble, mate. Just fucking shake my hand and piss off." The guy shook his hand and he had a fucking shock hand, and he rolled critical damage, and he put Dax unconscious on the first shot. So Bill was like, "Right, I've got this." So Bill made sure she was behind him. And at this point, we were both still going, "It's all right. Bill can do it. Bill can do it. Just don't touch him." And he's like, "Right, it's fine." And Mike just goes, she reaches over and touches your shoulder and you go unconscious. And Mickey's like, "The fuck?" And that was it.
Did you just say that wrong? Maybe you said that wrong. That was I don't know.
It was when she went behind you. I remember either Rob or Mickey going, "Why has she gone behind us?"
Yeah. And just I was like, "Oh, that's really unfortunate," because he rolled really high on his shot glove, and now Dax is out. But Bill can probably deal with this. And it was like, no, it was all a setup.
It was all set up, and this was the guy she was kidnapping you for, Simeon San Simeon.
That is great new art.
The douchebag.
What a prick.
What a bastard.
What a total prick.
I'm glad you killed him at least once.
You killed him at least once. But he had an accomplice, didn't he?
Oh, he had. He had the fucking Ogma Raider.
Marvelous Marvin.
Marvelous Marvin. Marvelous Marvin looks way better in the new art.
Marvelous
He was
Marvin.
scary before, but that's hideous.
Marvelous. And Simeon had this tatty old scout ship called the Dark Star. And Bill M stalked him down there was a frantic battle as you were sort of tied up, weren't you?
They were going to space us.
Yeah, they were going to space you, weren't they? They were going to keelhaul you.
They were going to keelhaul us, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of okay. Maybe we'll survive." And then, no, Mike was like, "No, they're going to haul you in space." And I do mean that. And I'm like, "No, we can't."
They were just going to space us.
It's like, but because so we were sort of tied up. I mean, we were certainly restrained in this small room, and I remember, Mike saying, we were going to be keelhauled, and there was it was this moment. First of all, we've been shocked, and now we're about to be literally killed, and I'm like, Mike, this is meant to be like a one shot for me and Rob to sort of bond a little bit. We're going to die. We're literally going to die. And so we got into this fight, and we were like, no, we're going to have to fight our way out of this. It doesn't seem like there's no way we're talking our way out of this. So we started fighting, and Billen picked up a hammer or something, and Rob grabbed something, and I just couldn't hit for toffee. Every time I swung with this hammer, I'm missing.
I went unconscious straight away again. We stole things off. Mike had made this map, and he'd put these random tools on this desk just to sort of make it look like a workshop, which is where we're being held. And me and Mickey both went, "Well, we will grab those tools."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What tools?" It's like, "Well, there's a hammer." And it was like, oh, all right then, yeah, okay.
On the mat.
we thought we'd really solved the puzzle. We're like, yeah. And then Dax went straight unconscious.
Yeah.
At which point, Dylan just went mental.
So, shall I tell the story? Can I tell the story?
Yeah, you tell it.
Sorry, mate, you do it.
So basically, bearing in mind, Dax is the fighter, right? So Billum fails at everything, and he is certainly not a fighter. And so, but Dax has just been knocked unconscious by this guy, and like it's another moment of like, oh my God, we're going to die. We're going to die. And so Billum sort of, and he just flipped. He just flipped. And there was like, Dax had managed to knock one guy out, fortunately, beforehand. And he was lying sort of face down on the floor, just on the other side of the room. Billum saw Dax get knocked out. So basically, he just dived for this other guy on the hope that he had a pistol hidden on the other side of his body. So I don't think I could see it, could I? So it was kind of, It wasn't guaranteed that there was going to be one there. But like, I literally was like, I couldn't think of anything else to do. So, and he dived over him, and he did happen to have, fortunately, there was a pistol. And so Billum sort of grabbed this pistol. And I think it was proper falling down. He just picked it up and blap. And it couldn't miss. And everything he was hitting,
it was gold.
You stalked Simeon down the corridor, didn't you? You stalked him down the corridor because he legged it, and you were chasing him down the corridor, and you were like, Simeon!
That was the moment, because like Bill, up until that point, Bill had been like a proper sort of pacifist. He'd been a space postman. That's all he wanted to be, was a pilot. He wasn't the violent one in the group. He was like the big, because he was the really big, strong guy. He was the engineer, but he was in the pilot. But he was always like the calm, collected dude in the mix. Zim was sort of on the edge and a bit odd. Fucking Silic was mental and psychotic. Dax is a law unto himself. And Billum was always like the stabilizing influence. And then San Simeon comes, and Mickey did this thing. Like, he killed like 3 guys. I was like, we're done for now. We're dead. And he just bam, bam, bam. And Simeon started running. And there's this bit where Mickey just rounds the corner and he just goes, Simeon! And bam, bam, bam. And Simeon's missing every shot. And Mickey's just like, bang, 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 and finishes him. I just lay unconscious for the whole combat. It was glorious.
It was total Dirty Harry move. It was great. And
amazing.
That was one of my favorite sessions ever. That you guys.
Is that one recorded? Are they all these ones?
We didn't record that.
You didn't record these ones. Okay. I didn't know when it began. Yeah, okay.
We didn't record that one.
It's such a shame because that was like Bill's glorious hour.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it's a story that can just get bigger every time we tell it.
It could just get bigger.
It's the best kind. It's like the drunken stories that spread throughout the crew. We know the general history, but like Zim wasn't there. Only you and I were there, and we know we were amazing. I slept a bit, but that was to lull them into a false sense of security.
But anyway, a tiny side story in the overall saga so far.
Yeah.
But he really changed Bill's character. Bill sort of crystallized a bit. He got a bit harder there.
He got a bit harder, didn't he?
Yeah.
He got much more decisive in like crew decisions and stuff. It was brilliant.
Found him more. Yeah, that was the finding of Bill in that one, I think.
Yeah, it was great that. Anyway, while you were there on Pornell, Station 1, you saw this job for a company called Helvik Labs.
Oh, for fuck's sake, we shouldn't have taken this job.
There was their guy, Beruz Euphrosyne, and he said they've got this lab ship in the next system, a system called Hilfa. It's a desert world. And they've got this lab, and they've lost contact with this lab, hasn't reported in. A lab ship called Fomogul 127. So you went over to Hilfa. It's just the next system over. And it was quiet. It was deserted. It wasn't deserted though, was it? Because there'd been an industrial accident and they'd released this combat drug they were experimenting with combat drugs. There was an explosion on board. The combat drugs were released into the air circulation. Everyone went absolutely crazy and started killing each other. They had these animals on board that started killing each other. And they had a couple of creatures. Oh, I should have put pictures of those up, didn't think to. You had these creatures on there, this big sort of baboon big sort of like big alien monstrous baboon that was pretty cool, and we fought a few sessions. There were some survivors from that incident. You killed 2 of them.
I chopped one of their feet off because we were worried about him getting away, and we couldn't bind his legs because it took too much time. So I just chopped off his feet.
Now the other 2, this Gianni Sapolosky and the navigator Zindel Henri, you've got them in cold storage.
Yeah, we froze them because Zim wanted to take this combat drug from them and retro-engineer it. This is where
Those the
Zim...
bodies that we had to hide in the session I was in. That you were like, where are these bodies going to go or something? You were worried about the location of them or something.
Those are different bodies.
Fine, okay.
Oh yeah, we're
noticing a theme definitely about like
we've
we
got
end
many
up putting
bodies floating around, but
You've got a lot of bodies, yeah.
These ones are quite specific because they have what is potentially a very, very worthwhile experimental combat drug in them. And Zim was keen that we take it out and reconstruct it and sell it on before they can research it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to interrupt too much, Mike, because I know you've got a lot to get through. But the bit I remember about this was we went on and we were like, oh, it's deserted. It's deserted. It's a bit shit. And then you're like, what are you going to do? Oh, we'll go in here. It's the kitchen. There's a bit of blood stains, but it's fine. And then Dax opens his fucking fridge and it's full of human body parts. Like you put them on the map. They were piled up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
And we all went, oh.
And there was blood spilling out underneath the fridge as well, wasn't there? You could just see it.
Yeah, you were like, there's blood leaking out into the fridge door. What'd you do? And I'm like, well, Dax opens the door. Dax is going to close the door.
Oh man, that was great. Anyway, you resolved that situation, and from that, you took the data on the combat drugs, the scientific data, and you also stole their medical. What was that thing I was talking about before on Alien? Prometheus.
Yeah, the
Orthodoc
doctor table thing.
Yeah, the Orthodoc. Yeah, you stole a bunch of other stuff as well.
Yeah, we did. We retrofitted the ship with their random tech.
Yeah, and as you were leaving the Hilfer system, you saw one of the Aslan vessels.
Oh fuck that giant bastard! Yeah,
and a number of other ships as well. You saw this big 5,000-ton freighter called the Big Blue Bastard.
The Big Blue Bastard, literally, yes. We decided we wanted it because
wasn't it like actually huge though? It was one of those things.
Oh yeah,
that was when you got into telling us the scale of some of the ships in this game. They're like
that was massive. When we could dock like 5 Harriers in that little thing underneath.
Yeah,
we were like, how much loot could we fit in one of these?
Loot, yeah. And then you departed Hilfer and you went to Tech World.
Oh, my favorite place.
So we're catching up now. So there's the planet, and there's a little moon there. That's no moon. That's the high port, and it's a completely featureless black plastic type globe, but it's nanotech, and it opens up. Platforms come out. You go in, and you get into the inside of the high ports. There's the high port. There's a down port on the surface, and there's this high port. Now, Tech World is a Jedico colony that conducts research. And it conducts research that might not be considered strictly legal in the Imperium.
But it may be qualified for a discount.
You get a 10% discount. You get a 10% discount of anything you buy at Tech World, and it's super high tech as well. But you can't buy illegal stuff. You can't buy military weapons either, but there's stuff you can buy. You were met by the starport servitor.
Oh God, yeah.
And Alex, remember that with his bum hanging out the back. And you were also told by Alexis that his one of his secretaries, or his secretary Sophia, was based there, and she'll meet you.
Sophia. Oh, I'd forgotten Sophia.
You met Sophia. Sophia is a robot. Sophia is an android.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely fantastic in that she's a bit coquettish and ticks her head and smiles in all the right times. she could be absolutely human, apart from the fact that she's plastic and chrome and metal. There was a couple of other ships there, a few other ships hanging around the station that you caught sight of. There was a Imperial cruiser, the Sun Tzu.
Oh, yeah.
Kanune class cruiser. There was a ship called the Arshad, which is a Viper class close escort. Now that ship has got a couple of passengers, a couple of Imperial passengers bound for Hilfa. And their job is to do a bit of, is to relieve some of the other Imperial staff that are on the planet's surface while they, and to deal with some of the local rivalries that are going on between the natives and the indigenous human population. So you've got people like Lieutenant Kappa Kaparskin and Magnus Gravin. So this is like little storylines passing each other. We've also got the Bright Light, a 600,000 ton. It's not ton in weight, it's tons in displacement.
Yeah.
Displacement tons of the Azanti High Lightning with its big penile spinal mount cannon. That's a not an actual active ship anymore. It's just been recommissioned for thingy purposes, for trade purposes. Big freighter basically now. There was these couple of Raise the Wind and Sparrowhawk. These are like freighters, Mara class freighters. And then you saw the King of the Hill, a Leviathan class freighter. So these are the kind of ships. These are a few big freighters, a few sort of Imperial ships and escort ships. And it was while you were there, you found a bar called the Torpedo Bay.
Yes, we did. Which
is a Navy theme bar. And it's because there's a bit of an Imperial presence passing through the system. There's this naval theme bar that seems quite popular with Navy crew. And you guys had a few drinks there and a few torpedo juices, and you got pretty leathered. And then that's when we found the tail of the old spacer.
Wasn't this where Billum absolutely
and he kind
accidentally
looks at you, fixes you with a beady eye, Bill. 200 years ago, in the days when the pirate king Scurrilous Dave bestrode the stars, the Emperor himself dispatched a massive fleet to try and bring order to the borderlands. After a deadly game of cat and mouse, Davy was cornered in the Exy system. But the borderlands, she looks after her own, and she'll not be tamed by mortal hands. One ill-fated night, the pride of the Navy fleet, the Eliza Daniken, embarked on a mission to Exy. Tell me when it's over. In a bid to finally cleanse the skies of the pirate havens. It never completed its mission. Some say it was possessed by an ancient alien spirit from the void. She turned on her crew, slaughtered them all, and the Jolly Roger escaped. No one knows what happened to the Eliza Daniken, for she was never heard from again.
Dun, dun, dun.
But sometimes, out of the black, travelers tell of a huge, dead, cursed ship. She rolls in upon clouds of hydrogen, or arises from the abyssal depths of the gas giant to take foolish travelers that stray too far from the safety of port. Sometimes their ships are found years later, drifting alone, intact, but with no crew. The tables set for dinner, but no sign, no blood, no damage, gone. Be careful out there in the black. And if you see the Eliza Daniken, run for your lives.
Oh God, I'd forgotten the Eliza Daniken. That was
Love it.
amazing.
The Eliza Daniken. So really, what we've got so far is a tale of 3 ships. We've got the Coup de Grace, this restored, found Dranaxian, Sindalian era ship. We've got the Jolly Roger. The ship is no more. The ship was destroyed. It was sold for scrap and the hull plate. But we've also got the ghost ship, the Eliza Daniken. The ship disappeared, and the Eliza Daniken and the Jolly Roger crossed paths at some point. The Jolly Roger, we know what happened to her. The Eliza Daniken was never found. Mysterious.
The rumor was that the hull plate from
Jolly Roger
might have led to Scurrilous Dave's hideout, which was rumored to potentially be some asteroid. So if you were a pirate crew who wanted to hide the shit you'd stolen from other people, and you could get the hull plate and get into Scurrilous Dave's, this is what really intrigues Dax.
Yeah.
There's this idea that we're starting to accrue stuff.
And he kind of he looks at you, fixes you with the beady eye, Bill. 200 years ago, in the days when the pirate king Scurrilous Dave bestrode the stars. Now there's the legend of the Emperor himself. 200 years ago, this renowned pirate king Scurrilous Dave to try and bring order to the borderlands, hidden somewhere on a frozen moon. After a deadly game of cat and mouse, and in that base was cornered.
Got audio in the background as well, Mike.
I paused the audio. It started again.
After our own, and shall not be tamed by mortal hands.
The Tale of the Old Space has got a video. You can pause that if you've heard it.
Fated night.
I see. There we go. Sorry, I just had that going as well in the back. I wasn't sure what I was meant to be listening to. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right, mate.
I'm with you. Yeah, totally. Yeah, user error. My fault.
User error. So he found this ship in this base. He found this ship, this famous ship, the Jolly Roger, which was of unusual design. It was fast and deadly. And some legends say that he was able to hit separate locations at the same time. It led to rumors of him having 2 ships, but no one ever saw Dave again. He crossed the Eliza Daniken. No one knows what happened to the Eliza Daniken. And then no one really saw Scurrilous Dave again. Legends are that he retired or was killed or left the pirate life completely. The wreck of the Jolly Roger was found recently in this decaying orbit. Jeffrey Cote found it.
I just wanted to check before I read it. I can see on that thing I've got the Legend of Scurrilous Dave.
Yeah.
And it's got bullet points, and then it's got a picture. Can I read all of that? Or...
You can read all that.
Okay, I just wanted to check before I read, and then suddenly it's got like the solution at the end of it or something.
No, it's not a Gary job.
Okay. With it, right?
Yeah. I accidentally, there's the wrong ship image at the bottom though, so I've taken that off, but it should be okay. It was the wrong ship image, so I've taken it off. So if it's still there, just ignore it.
It's all gone for me, actually.
The whole thing disappeared.
Let me just reshare it then. What about now?
Yeah, got the bullet points and stuff back.
Okay. So he sold this whole plate to the handsome Solomani adventurer called George Marte. So we did know his name, and he was captain of a freighter trader called the Firewaven.
Yeah.
And at Tech World, so as you were talking about this, and these old these Imperial Navy guys were listening to the story of old Lakshi, there was this woman listening, and she was sort of laughing to herself a little bit. Nina Varenberg, the archaeologist, and she was having a bit of an argument with these 2 scruffy spacers, and they'd been basically, she'd got a passage on their ship, and it was not what she was told she was paying for. So she was having a bit of a row. She wanted a refund on what she'd paid for, and these guys were sort of pretty sort of low life. And anyway, you got talking to her, and she said that they think that she says she thinks that the Jolly Roger, from the evidence, there was no evidence that there were two ships, but what most serious researchers think is that the Jolly Roger was a Sindalian Wyvern ship, which was like a military combat ship like the Harrier, twice the size, 400 tons.
Yes.
Yeah. Armed to fuck. Yeah. But you can't get it because it's destroyed. But there might be other ones around. But the hull plate is out there somewhere. The hull plate is in the hands of George Marté. And while you were there, you met this woman.
Yeah, we did.
All right.
Give us the accent.
Talby Doherty here. Now, I might have had a few torpedo juices, and I'm not saying that George Marté, when I met him, he tried to shag me. Of course I didn't shag him. I'm not that kind of girl. Throw another shrimp on the barbie, mate. That's how you do the accent, isn't it? Because I kept forgetting the accent, and Mickey said, throw another shrimp on the barbie. That's how you do it.
It worked every time.
So you said, you were like, oh, I know George. I know him well. I'm trying to catch up with him, trying to track him down. So Dax was like, charmed her a little bit. And she said that Marté was headed with the hull plate, headed towards Arunacia, which on the map is, let me just close that down. On the map is, where is it?
I mean, not wanting to split hairs, but when you say Dax charmed her a little bit,
she charmed you.
I might have taken her aboard the coup de grace and done stuff to her.
Can't remember.
I charmed her quite a lot.
Where's Arunacia?
Put another shrimp on the barbie.
I put several shrimps on the barbie
that
night.
There it is. Arunacia is there.
Yeah, up near Cordan.
Up near Cordan. I had a robot on there by accident. Shouldn't have been on there. Never mind. Just testing something the other day, which you won't need to meet. Yeah, so there's Arunacia. So basically, George was heading there. So there's you in Tech World. So he'd basically gone round that way. He was heading there. And then Dax shagged her, as he was wont to do. And that was waves of crashing hydrogen. While you
exploding supernova.
While you were there, you had Dax had some augmentations. No, Billem had a robot dog.
Yeah.
Built. This is Dr. Andreas Cassatelli, who did the robotics. Dax had some cybernetics done by Dr. Kokar.
Fucked up motherfucker, but he did a good job.
Yeah. Here we have Odin the Cyberdog.
Odin, that was it.
Odin the Cyberdog.
Odin cool.
The Cyberdog.
Yeah, and then Zim had.
Jesus.
I got like the world-class bionics that may be unbelievably amazing.
You got that kick-ass dog.
Phil got the most amazing advanced hacking stealth cyberdog, and Zim paid all his money to buy a grumpy old woman who hated him. Zim with his MILF complex.
Zim had a massive computer upgrade, and it's basically like an AI, not sentient, not conscious, but it's a high tech AI.
Oh my god!
And she was
I mean, that's an upgrade. What was he on? A Commodore?
Well, something went wrong because when they and Gaz and I had chatted about this, and when they came with it, like, oh, we've upgraded your computer, but there's one or two problems. And she was this grumpy old woman interface, and I just got the idea from Red Dwarf, like a floating head like Colin. And he can basically, he's got a little augment on his, and he had some sort of like a neural lace fitted as well. So he can basically summon her from his palm, a little hologram, like a hologram, and she can argue with you and
All
tell
right, you
you
grumpy old woman.
she can tell you're doing a shit job.
I just like all the artwork as well. It's been really good. It's even a really shit picture.
But Mike, I think you should just let Dan know what she was called because it was perfect.
Lydia, the computer.
She was called Lydia.
Oh dear.
Oh my
And she
God.
was a really sarky cow.
She was, yeah. Then you you saw these guys. Yeah, where's the Varga crew? You saw these Varga guys drinking in the bar, and they were the crew of a ship called the Black Hole of Ignorance, which was pretty garishly painted Varga ship. And you decided, and you heard a little bit about them having some sweet stuff, some illegal stuff, and you were like, let's pirate that. And Zim got a track of that. Zim sort of created that sort of situation, but it was a trap. It was a trap. So it was a trap. You got on board on the ship, and while you were attacking the bridge, they had 4 Marines hidden in another room, and the Marines came around the back. He still killed everyone.
I was going to say, it seemed like a total waste on their part. It was a shit trap because we just massacred them.
Yeah, he still killed everyone, and on that ship, there was one survivor of the enemy, Goldtooth.
Of course, that's where Goldtooth came from.
That's where Goldtooth came from, and you gave Zim and Kirsch basically gave him the ultimatum: come with us, or
take them on a blade like all your mates.
Yeah. And Varga appreciate firm leadership, and he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll join you guys. So you've kept your eye on him. I'm not sure how much to trust him, but he has proved his worth. Okay, we're coming to the end now, nearly there, guys. You jumped out of Tech World and you went to the XC system, which on the map is here, halfway between Tech World and Cordan. You were heading to Cordan as your green grocers of Drinax. You've been summoned, or come to Cordan, I've got a job for you about interstellar fruit trade. And while you were in the out system at Exi, you received a distress signal. You received a distress signal from this ship, the Goddess Astoria. And it was a 300-ton bespoke yacht with a pool in the ship. And it was owned by these nobles. There's the nobles: Jemima Vidar.
That was before Bill and melted all their faces.
Jeremy Valk, Needs, Dana, Ardashir, Muntasia, and Bamakat. So these nobles were all extremely obnoxious, and they wouldn't even look at you guys. So you guys had said you were coming there to save them. You weren't coming there to save them. There's the deck plan for the Goddess Astoria with its pool. And you, as you were there was a bit of a fracas, wasn't there? And Bill fired his biogloop gun. The biogloop gun's really quite interesting. Where is it? Here. Here we go. View the item artwork. There it is. There's the biogloop gun. It goes on Bill's hand. It slots over his hand, and it's an alien weapon. You don't know where it's from. It slots over his forearm, and it shoots acid. And there was a bit of either a misfire or a misaim, and it melted the face of one of the noble women, didn't it? It melted her head.
Yeah, I think it was just, I don't know, the bad guy just kind of moved out of the way at the last second. And well, you know, these things happen in combat. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah, because I think you guys were trying to pirate it, and I think the yacht's crew tried to to mount a defense. And they during that fighting off against the crew, one of the noblewomen was killed. I can't remember which one. There is Sir Franklin Howguaran of Necrino. He's only a minor noble. He doesn't own or run Necrino, but he is related to the nobility who run that system. There was also Stuart, the Steward robot.
How can I forget Stuart?
Poorly treated thing that you guys took. It was beaten up. It had dents in it. It had been abused. It had been abused, poor thing. While you were there ripping this place off, the Imperial Navy appeared in a Type T patrol cruiser, a ship called the Sincerity. And you were boarded, and you guys decided you were going to pretend to be the crew of the yacht, and Zim was going to be the captain. You were boarded by the Marines. About 7 of these Imperial Marines came on the ship, and led by Lieutenant Harold Nash of the Sincerity. Women love him, his men adore him, and most men want to be him. You guys fucking hated him. Anyway, you guys managed to con him and say thinking you were the crew, and he left. You got your ship on the way. Billem kept trying to repair the drive and just made it worse. And,
back to form.
But their engineers managed to get you back, get you back on the water, get you back in the air, and you guys jumped away.
Didn't we find a little room where the nobles were keeping two people prisoner because they'd been doing some horrible noble sport of dropping like plebs onto a planet's surface and like smashing them into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think we put most of the nobles into cold storage because we were like, these guys will be worth something for bounty, and they're all twats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yes, I think most of the nobles are in the cold storage on the coup de grace to like bargain back with later. And we might even have killed one or two because, they've been doing some bad stuff to some.
Yeah, they've been basically put in one of these like these dregs of society that they captured on the outskirts of the Wilderman system. Scratch. These are dregs from the Boneyard. Prospectors and belters, really. Put them in a cheap vac suit, throw them out the airlock, see how long it takes for them to burn up in the atmosphere. God, it's really fucking vile. Yeah. They also had a load of illegal stuff, some illegal foods made from intelligent species. They were like proper decadent, and they were really fucking vile, weren't they? They wouldn't even look at your DAX. There was not a nice thing about them.
We just are those the bodies storage that you had to hide?
I think you had to. This might be another body. This might be another body.
I think they're most of the bodies.
Yes, we've got a couple of very key experimental people filled with combat drugs that nobody can bring to market yet. But most of everybody else there is just worth billions because they're nobles.
Yeah, okay.
That we froze because if we hadn't, we'd have spaced them because we hated them because they were horrible.
And we got Zim with us, and he's a nice guy.
Well, ish. I mean, I think Zim was sort of the opinion that if they're going to do that to people, we would take the combat drugs out of one, put them in the other, sell them back to people, and send them to noble families in a murderous rage. Zim got a bit dark.
Fair point.
And I blame Lydia.
Yeah.
That messed up old woman.
Wind up.
You also heard about the Salif High Port while you were there. So Salif is just to the west of Teve, and it is there's a brand new casino space station opened up, mega casino that looks like a roulette table. So that's just kind of, so you'd heard about that. The nobles were talking about that, seemed quite excited about that. It's a bit of a rival for Necrino because they're a gambling place at Necrino, so there's a bit of rivalry going on there.
But never been. You guys have never been there.
You've never been there.
You've now heard about it or found out about it.
You've heard about it, yeah. You've never been there, yeah. And while you were in the Exy system, you did a bit of a gas giant refueling that didn't quite go well, did it, Bill?
This was, I think Dan, you may have heard the story of this one. This is the one where we went to scoop, and I may have failed a couple of key rolls, and we ended up pretty deep in the
I think
gravity
this
well.
this is the story you told me on one of our board game nights.
Yeah.
That you were telling me I've got to tell you what happened on the roleplay night, and you told me about it, and I was just like, oh my god, yeah.
So you know, I think I mean, there's obviously that sort of funny side to it. There was something interesting, which there was something down there, wasn't there? I think, wasn't there? We got
something
echoes
was moving
of
downstairs, wasn't it? Something was moving deep in the gas giant.
Something deep in the gas giant was moving, something huge, and didn't we kind of link that maybe to one of the mystery ships or
possibly
bases
to the
or
ghost
something?
ship.
Or...
I mean, it was like it was so vast. The implication from Mike was it was so big it couldn't even be a ship. It might be some kind of sentient gas.
Maybe, yeah. It was a kilometer or so long. It was long,
obscenely large,
several kilometers long. It was big.
Dax was busy bouncing off the atmosphere with a full tank of gas, pissing himself laughing at how shit you are as a pilot. but you know, beyond that, and the worry that you might destroy the ship that he wished he was piloting because that was the one that was worth something.
As you went deeper, as he failed the rolls, he went deeper into the gas giant. The gravity increased the pull, so he had to make successively harder rolls, wasn't it? And on his final roll, he rolled a 6, didn't you? And pulled it out. And you were like, yeah!
He had to get an 11 on 2d6, or him, the ship, and everyone apart from me in the campaign would be killed. And he rolled the 6, and we all just went, because at that point we were just like, right, so the coup de grace gone. Bill and Zim and Lydia and Odin the cyber dog and all of our prisoners, patients, samples, everything, they've all gone. And Dax is in the little ancillary ship just skipping across the top going, oh, buggery.
But wasn't the silly thing, right? The reason it happened wasn't it, Dax? You sort of went nosedived into the clouds, into the thing.
Yeah.
And Billum sort of followed you, thinking, yeah, I can do that too. And as Dax was pulling up, Billum's like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Dax rolled like an 11 or a 12, because Dax's pilot was pretty badass. And I skimmed it and came straight back up. And Bill was like, I'll take the same angle.
I got this.
Oh, and then the gravity took hold, and it was like, no.
I just remember, Rob, you describing that as you were going down, seeing Bill just go boom past. Wait, where are you going that way for?
What the fuck are you doing?
What you doing?
Anyway, brilliant.
So we're nearly done. We're back on. Are we okay just for a few minutes, or do you want to wrap it up now? We just fight.
I'm good for a couple of minutes. Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm loving this. To be honest, Mike, if you want to do another 3 hours, I'm in.
We're coming. We're at Cordan now. We're gonna bring you to Cordan. So Cordan is a garden world. It's a large fertile garden world that was terraformed about 2,500 years ago by Sandalians and Solomani pioneers. It's an agricultural world with a pristine wilderness, low population. It used to have a high population, but now it's a lot smaller. Agricultural, disparate settlements. The produce is much valued, although you can get kind of cheap orbital greenhouse grown stuff. The produce that's grown on planet tends to be regarded as the better quality. For true quality pears, by Cordanian. The planet itself is administered by a number of barons, and they have their own fiefs. Today, there's only 3 barons. There used to be more. You've got Baron Ferro, Baron Halley, and Baroness Lux. Basically, Cordan is an important trade route. If you sort of look where it is, it's right on that sort of trade route to the High Rate and also over to the Florian League. So it's a really important nexus. People don't tend to go onto the planet; they just kind of pass through it. For the Imperium, it's important because it's an artery. It's an arterial trade route. The Barons rule, and the Imperium basically wants things to just run smoothly. We don't interfere with your local politics, but don't cause too much trouble either. You were summoned there by, or asked to come by Baroness Lux to discuss potential of the interstellar fruit trade, pears and raspberries and things like that. Of course, that wasn't really what you were there for. While you sort of came down and you saw the landscape. Oh, I forgot to put the high port on there. I'll have to put that on at some point. You saw the landscape, pretty beautiful, very sort of picturesque, almost kind of idyllic. The landscape is also littered by these ancient Solomani and Sindalian terraforming machines, which great big kind of pillars and rocks broken down now they've done their job. Then you saw the downport, or one of the sort of downport space stations in Baroness Lux's territory. Really quite beautiful. I wanted to imagine this kind of picturesque Italian Mediterranean landscape with mostly rural population, little kind of farming communities, small kind of riverside towns. You would have seen, although you didn't visit it, Baroness Lux's palace. So that's new, but it's not AIR. That's the original art. That's a palace, really, really beautiful. The barons live quite higher tech, what will be tech level 9. So if Earth now is about tech 7 to 8, so somewhat advanced on what we would have on Terra now. The rural population lives something more like 4 or 5. Pretty simple biodiesel, anything you can make in a sort of workshop yard, they would kind of use. You went to see the Baroness's manor, which was this lovely villa by the river there, and then you met Baroness Lux herself.
Oh, new art.
There she is. Think Sophia Loren. Think Sophia Loren, played by Sophia Loren. Really beautiful.
I often do.
There's her family crest. And she said, I've drawn your hair under false pretenses. This is actually what I really want you for. Basically, she felt threatened by the other two barons, Baron Halley and Baron Ferro. She felt they were conspiring against her. They were working against her. They fought amongst themselves in the past, but now they seem to be working together and working against her. She wants you to go over into this disputed border region in the north, where Ferro and Halley's territory butts up against each other, trigger some internal problems, try and cause dissent, try and get them fighting against each other to take the pressure off her, and in that process, divide and conquer, try and weaken them, destabilize the region to weaken their political power, and foment dissent, unrest, and sabotage their military assets, but try not to create all-out war. If we cause too much of a problem, it's going to bring in imperial interests. They might step in, and then everyone loses. No one wins. Baron Halley is in the... No, this is the sort of imperial... I'll come to that bit. There's the sort of landscape. It's a bit like sort of northern Europe, or maybe Kashmir, quite sort of rich, quite beautiful, lots of valleys and mountainous. You would have seen, as you sort of went in, you would have seen these, as you've been driving around or traveling around, you would have seen these kind of farmlands, rich kind of arable lands, dotted with these simple wooden, maybe stone in some places, wooden buildings, and these also on the landscape, these granaries, really. gather the materials and process them. And Cordanian whiskey is also, by the way, absolutely excellent. And they ferment that, and there you got a glass. They ferment that. Is it ferment it? Is that what you call distill it? They distill that and ship it out themselves. The actual spaceport in the disputed region is a pretty ugly industrial thing. The natives, the Cordanian natives in the north, the men often have these thick, luxurious mustaches. They tend to have these kind of mustaches. They tend to wear quite sort of almost traditional kind of dress. I want you to sort of think a bit like what were sort of the Ukrainian people in times gone by?
Like Prussia or something like that.
Like
Cossack,
yeah. I don't want you to think of them as being like Cossacks in space. They have a very fierce, independent spirit, distrustful of outsiders. You don't get any visitors, really. You don't get many visitors, extraterrestrial visitors. So they are somewhat sort of xenophobic, very proud people, very sort of independent. There's a bit of a sort of frontier spirit going on on this planet, of a sort of like of independence, strongly independent. I guess maybe the barons ferment that so they don't get too distracted by what's going on outside. The Baroness told you about this guy, Josephus Agraki, the tax collector.
Look at his face.
Yeah, and that was when Mickey said, "It looks like Mike."
Yeah, I went, "Oh, what a prick! You just want to punch that face." And then Mickey went, "He looks like Mike." Yeah, he does.
It does. And I almost had a couple of attempts at doing his image, and I was like, I just couldn't find one that looked tratish enough. I just left it as it is.
Do you not have selfies?
I do, yeah, but it would have gone too far. So basically, the idea was to assassinate the tax collector, Brian Halley's tax collector, and try and pin the blame on Pharaoh and start to cause a bit of a problem, which you did. You assassinate him. Let's just bring you to, and then we'll wrap up in a moment. Is it that one there? Here we go. There's the map of the border region.
Mm-hmm.
You came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
So I just updated this map a little bit as well, to make it look a bit less D&D-ish. You assassinated you assassinated Agraki somewhere along this road, actually.
Oh, I've not got it again. Hold on, I've got to refresh. I think sometimes mine doesn't update, doesn't it?
I'm just closing 1,000 windows, but that's the D&D map I really like, but that's lovely.
Yeah,
Put
it's
some
nice.
time into that.
Yeah, it's about the fourth version. This is about the fourth version. I kept just playing with it and going, "Don't like it. I'm just going to play with it again," and kept changing it.
Has it been 2 years since we ran this, Mike, and you've had time to play?
Well, I've had a bit too much time to play.
It looks fucking sweet. I love it.
It's nice, isn't it? With the more sort of contourish of the mountains and things like that and the hills.
It's familiar, but it feels travellery.
Yeah, I was dead happy with it. So anyway, you assassinated Agraki on this road that goes from the starport to Ellerton. You took him out. You smashed up the Hilux. The Hilux. Where's the Hilux? Have we got the Hilux? Here we go.
Oh, we fucked that up.
You put that up. You drove it through there. You chased them. Zim tried to kind of like tap his phone at the starport, didn't he? He tried to kind of hack his phone at the starport by delivering a virus, and it didn't work.
Fucked it up.
He fucked it up. He legged it. You guys gave chase in the Hilux. Their car was a lot faster. and they managed to sort of get away from you. But you drove through their blockade. Then there was a shootout, and actually, I watched this episode again. And it was brilliant because Billen was like, "Well, they've got machine guns and horse pistols. We'll just drive on a bit further, and we'll pick them off with our rifles." So they couldn't hit you. You wasted them all. So you did like a really fantastic job with that. There was.
Did we try and do something smart with Odin on that one as well that didn't quite work out? It was like running.
It did work. He sort of ran across, didn't he? Jumped over he ran over the top of the vehicles, and he chomped one of the bodyguards and delivered an electric shock to his neck.
And Pin set the airbags off and pinned the dudes in place while we sniped them.
Pinned the dudes in place.
They were fodder for us.
Yeah, and then you took the body. You took the body of a Graki, and you put it in the grav. In the sort of you put it in the truck, and then separately Goldtooth came with the little speeder, the air raft, and you guys met. And while he was either had the body in the air raft, I can't remember exactly how this bit sort of went down. There was this Colonial G carrier, gravity carrier, that came. This was when we were playing around with Sirenscape and I pinged a noise on Sirenscape and it broke Sirenscape, and everyone just went, "Oh, Sirenscape broke," and we were fucking about with that Sirenscape, and it just kept stopping, and I was like, it's just distracting. It was great sounds, but it was just too distracting. It was not great storytelling. And these guys were leaning out, weren't they? They were leaning out the window with the cameras, with the flashlights, trying to sort of find Goldtooth. But Goldtooth aced his pilot check or his flyer check and managed to sort of get away. And then you identified a target, the Inside Dam. And you decided you were going to try and blow the bloody doors off. Now, you decided you couldn't blow the actual dam because that would have taken more weaponry than you've got, and you would have had to sort of get a nuclear weapon. You were going to go back up to the high port, which I have actually got here.
Obtain certain sensitive material.
Where did I do it?
Not my finest hour.
Oh, if I've
I will
got that.
concede.
Where is they? Could it be there? Is it that one? Oh yeah, there's the high port. Show to players. There's the high port.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right, with the city facing downwards.
The city facing down.
So cool.
Yeah. So you guys went up to the high port, and you met up with this woman. Opal Twicefact. She's a tough as old boots farm girl whose potty mouth and bad attitude got her spaced twice. But she survived and thrived, and now she's an arms dealer and a mercenary, bit of a pirate, bit of a privateer, will turn her hands to anything. And you guys bought some military explosive, some plastic explosive. And the plan was, you can't possibly blow the dam, not without nuclear weapons, which is a big step up. But you're going to try and blow some of the turbines up in the plant and put it down to industrial espionage. And there was also a plan to drop the body of a Graki off on the crest of the dam. And if I remember correctly,
he's in a case. Can we have him in a suitcase or something?
You had him.
Or were you carrying him across the top? You carried him across the top.
So the plan was Dax was going to haul the Graki across the top.
That's it.
Drop him on the top, and then squirrel suit off into the cloaked coup de grace. So that all they would find, the turbines would all blow up, the dam would stop working, the energy would stop being generated, water would back up, They would come to investigate, and the opposing faction's tax collector would be found dead on top of the dam as if he'd failed in his mission, and nobody would know who did it apart from it was him. Therefore, it would set strife between the two. But there's no real evidence as to who did it. But it does rely on dragging a corpse with a cybernetic arm, squirrel suiting into a cloaked ship, and a variety of other things. And I'm not even planting the explosives. Like, you guys need to put the charges and blow the actual generators.
There was as I didn't really remember all this until I sort of watched it all again. The plan was for Dax and maybe someone else to squirrel suit onto the crest, or maybe just Dax on his own, squirrel suit onto the crest with the tax collector's body. For another team to go in through the front entrance with Zim, potentially with Zim, to plant some explosives in the turbines. So, like, talk your way in, con your way into there, below the turbines. Then for Silek to fly in with the coup, the Dax to jump off the crest, and fly into.
The plan, as I remember it, was that Dax was the only one. So Dax was going to basically drag the body of the tax collector on his own onto the top. So the guys would start the incursion. They would
during shift change. We said during a shift change.
During shift change. Yeah. They would either persuade, engage, whatever, set the explosives, so that the attention was drawn inside. Dax would get on top of the dam to drop the tax collector's body. So Graki would be dropped on top when it wasn't that busy, and then Dax would just dive off the top, squirrel suit into the cloaked coup, or the coup de grace that was piloted by Silek. So Dax was out of there, so that whatever happened when the thing blew, the only evidence was a Graki's body on top of the dam with very little violence, and the guys would escape and we would come pick them up if I survive, because Dax was going to go on his own and then squirrel suit off, because if Dax slams into the side of something and dies, if he drops a Graki first, it doesn't really matter. The mission is a success.
You'll see on that map there's a bit of a shading that goes through the lake. The north part of the map is very much the terrain of Baron Halley, and he resides at his castle, which is in the edge of the mountains up in the top there. The dam is down there near Midyard. See it sort of there.
I do think it's in very bad taste that there's a hex down here that just says Dax's corpse. That's not on. I get to roll some dice, yeah.
And so the dam is in the terrain of Baron Ferro, who basically owns it, but they sell a lot of the energy to Baron Halley, and the energy supplies the starport on the ground. And then some of the towns use some of that energy, and a lot of them just, have combinations of using their own, making do with whatever they can sort of do. So that is where we left it, and I think that's where we'll pick it up next time. As we actually, what we'll pick up next time is we're going to retcon a little bit. We're going to go back. We're going to go back to the starport at the high port at Cordan, where you picked up the sausage belt, and you talked to Opal Trifact.
Please don't call me that. It's called Scratch.
Hyperpigs find that extremely offensive. When we got the cider bacon,
and we got Rasher, Scratch. Scratch.
Operation Pork Chop was a huge success.
Oh man, nice. So you're going to interview. You're going to do some interviews, because technically speaking, you've not got enough crew to fly the ships that you've got.
We really don't. And I mean, if we could avoid it, I would love Psycho Silek not to be flying the ship I'm diving into on a 50-50 chance of death, because he's prone to just shooting a random woman in the stomach. we've done our best with him, but he's not stable.
She fired first. He's not stable. No.
I mean, she did, but she was a shit shot, and he fucking nailed her. And she was Pim's girlfriend. Didn't have to kill her. If he'd shot my Aussie wench, I'd have cut his throat.
I'm gonna show you here. PC ships. There's the coup de grace. I better kind of like configure ownership. Here
also,
if we
recruit Scratch, he could bring in his fucking scraggy little hobo house on wheels, and I could dive into that instead. There's no way that's more dangerous than the high-tech coup de grace.
If you go onto the actors tab, have you got an actors tab?
Yeah. Got that.
And if you go down, you'll see PC ships.
Got it. Ooh, that's pretty.
There's the coup de grace.
Okay.
And and there is the goddess Astoria. And you'll see on the coup de grace, you've got 5 positions: electronics.
Yeah.
And the roles you can make: captain, pilot, engineering, and gunnery. The captain is able to make. Now, you can only do one activity. We're not going to need it for a little bit, but it's worth thinking about.
It is.
The captain can do 2 things. He can improve initiative with a leadership role, or he can use military tactics. And those, if you improve initiative with a leadership role, improves your initiative. If you use tactics, it can give you a bonus to be divvied out. Now, you've not got a captain.
I mean, Dax is the captain, but he likes to sit in the gunnery turret.
Can't do both.
No, I know, and essentially he's a better pilot than Billum is, as proven by the gas giant bullshit. But he's giving Bill a chance because he loves a bit of Billy Boy. Also,
I just want to fly.
Since we stole all that whiskey, Dax is more often than not a little bit too drunk to be as good a pilot as Billum is. He won't ever admit that, but Billum is more reliable. However, Dax is a fucking wizard on the guns, so we could. This is tough now. We could do with the captain, but
also, who's gonna fly? I hand waved it through, really. Who's going to fly the goddess Astoria?
Well, that's important. The other big question I have is, what skills affect your improve initiative and your tactics roll?
Improve initiative is leadership.
Right.
And tactics is tactics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Naval tactics. But, I mean, if you only have tactics 0, it will be tactics 0.
So, of course... what we need someone with leadership and tactics, and Dax has neither of those because he's been part of a pirate crew. And off the top of my head, as much as I enjoyed the character gens, I don't remember what Scratch has, but maybe he has leadership or tactics.
Leadership.
Yeah, he might make quite a good fat piggy captain. I'm really looking
with extensive naval experience.
I've been working on some fantastic questions for Scratch particularly, and other members that we might need. But like, Dax has a naval background, and he exited the Navy on a non-voluntary basis. Like, he loved the Navy. That's all he wanted. And he got booted out, not because he fucked up, but because some other dickhead shot him and he owed the Navy a load of money. So there's a bit of a pre-pirate potential agenda there, which is quite interesting.
Well, do you have gunnery turrets?
I've got gunnery turrets 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine.
So you've also got.
Don't
forget, you've got. I've put Silek and Kirsch in engineering. You don't need both, so you could put one of those on the coup on the goddess Astoria.
So, like,
you want to put Silek on the goddess Astoria?
I mean, I think this is a point for team discussion. But I love Silek like a brother, but I don't trust him because he's a fucking mentalist.
Okay, so let's take
He already shot Zim's girlfriend. If I get a girlfriend, I don't want him shooting mine.
I wonder if I can.
Whereas I kind of like the Varga. Dax is becoming quite a fan of the uplifted humans. Varga, Goldtooth, possibly Scratch. There's sort of because of that, particularly around Scratch, and this is very meta before we get into next session and the joy of it, but Dax spent his life as a belter and couldn't get a job forever. His society stat is 4. It's way lower than Scratch's. He is like the absolute dregs of human society, way below the abhumans and the uplifted humans. And he really relates to that, to the sort of struggle they've had and the ability to break out of that by just ignoring the law and sort of going beyond that and choosing your own path.
Yeah, they're a bit of like, especially like with the hyperpigs, they're sort of a bit viewed as a sort of a bit of a low life, really.
Yeah, which is exactly what Dax loves a low life, and so he
coming from nobody to somebody.
He sort of prefers the Varga and the hyperpigs to the humans because humans think they're all that. Like, he loves Zim. Zim's great. He rescued Zim from a planet, but Zim's an intellectual. He's had a university position. You know,
let me see
what injected some people with some upsetting shit, but he's not fought in the trenches. He's not been treated like shit by snobs.
So Goldtooth, he's got gunner, so he could be the gunner on the Goddess Astoria.
Yeah.
He's got pilot spacecraft, so he could pilot the Goddess Astoria. And he's got a mechanic. He's not got engineering.
Does the Goddess have guns?
Yes.
Right. So we could do with, depending on where we put them, and I'll leave this entirely up to you, Mike, but I sort of think from a narrative point of view, Scratch maybe as an ex-Imperial and then a merchant sort of Navy guy.
He's not Imperial. He's planetary Navy.
Planetary Navy.
Yes, yeah. So planetary Navy and then merchant Navy. He might be a very obvious early choice as a spacer. You know, he's a guy that you can trust with either piloting your ship, doing your gunnery, leading your ship, whatever it is. We may end up with Scratch a bit early in our selection process, and Scratch may even have input then into the selection of further crew. I wonder if we've got a pilot for this crew. We've got a gunner. We're lacking captain and leadership, and Scratch may fulfill that. Zim will do electronics, even if he's a little bit NPC-ish as we do it. And we've got one of those two guys for engineering. But on the other ship, we could do with a pilot and a gunner at least, if not an engineer as well. So we maybe want to recruit 4 people.
Yeah. So on the other ship, the Silek could be the engineer. And Goldtooth could either be the pilot or a gunner. So if I put Goldtooth, say just for argument's sake, into gunnery, because he could be moved.
I think Goldtooth gunner, Silek pilot, and then we maybe need one more. We need another engineer, which will be fun because we'll get to interview them. And I like the idea that we take Scratch first, and then, you know, it's sort of pirate democracy. We're like, well, you're one of the crew now, so you get to interview. So all 3 of us can interview this next engineer.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, Mike, you need to prep 12 different engineers for next session that we can interview, and we may reject all of them. And if we do, we would like some more, please.
I've got an engineer who'll be appropriate to come with Scratch, who Scratch knows. And we'll introduce him. He was ready to go. He's ready to go for Scratch's backstory.
I'm loving this already. I mean, it's not midnight. Let's crack on. Ignore the clock.
I've got an engineer ready. You could probably do with another electronics guy for the Goddess Astoria to run sensors and astrogation. So if you take on 2 people, can you see the Goddess Astoria sheet there? Can you sort of see it? Yeah,
I can see it.
You can see that Silek's the pilot.
Yes.
And you can see that
Goldtooth's the gunner.
Goldtooth's the gunner. Your ships don't need a captain. The captain is just there to increase efficiency in combat situations.
I if Scratch is in I don't know.
Scratch could be a good captain because of his tactics, but you don't. But that's a hell of a thing to ask a new member of crew to take over the leadership of the ship.
Can you do gunnery and then Dax does captain?
It's not good.
Yeah, I've got gunnery turret. I also have engineer, jump drive, and astrogation, and things like that.
You can do a bit of everything. Scratch can do a bit of everything.
Also a mechanic. So
you can actually do everything. Have you got electronics, Scratch?
Electronics, but only, I have it. I have the skill 0. Yeah,
You can do everything. Scratch can take any place.
Yeah.
Maybe Dax becomes captain. Is Rob frozen? I thought he was very stationary there.
It was like that one. I thought he was just really thinking hard.
Really thinking.
Yeah, really thinking hard. I'm thinking Dax takes, because I think you're right. But a new member of crew kind of saying, now you're the cap, does seem a little
bit odd.
Seems a bit odd. Yeah.
So yeah, I think if Dax could go across to captain and Scratch pick up one of the either gunnery or engineering, or whoever's best at gunnery, or whoever's best at gunnery out of him and who's in engineering at the minute. What's his name?
Kirsch.
So I'm gunnery turrets 1.
So you'd make a decent gunner. There's Kirsch. Let's just have a look what Kirsch is as a gunner. As a gunner, Kirsch is 0.
Yeah, there you go.
So you would be
maybe give me that.
You'd be a better gunner. Okay, so let me just
feels like the kind of thing you'd recruit for initially as well, right? New crew member. He's got this experience. Put him in that role.
Yeah.
But then I'm also on the ship. I can also help out with lots of things.
Yes, actually, yeah. Because in the gunnery role, while we're not shooting stuff,
then I can help on the engineering, the mechanics, the astrogation.
Yeah.
So for the goddess.
To be fair, though, when we're in the ship, we're using either getting shot at or shooting at things. It's rare. It's rare that we're not getting shot at.
Okay, so you're gonna need an electronics guy. Now you're gonna need an electronics guy, and you're gonna need an engineer. And there are 2 gunnery stations. There are 3 gunnery stations. There are 3 gunnery stations on the goddess, and there are 2 gunnery stations.
Rob's internet's fallen down. He hasn't got any. Yeah, he just says.
Won't
well, that's okay. We're done anyway, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're done anyway. So.
And
go on.
I was just gonna say, and when we pick it up again, Mickey, you're away next week. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Week after.
So week after we can pick it up at that point. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Brilliant
okay.
stuff.
Nice one. All right, that was great, that lads. Thanks. Thanks for bearing with me. God, that was a 4-hour session. That was a 4-hour session.
Yeah, really good though.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a bit late. I'm glad we got through it all. I hope it wasn't too late.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And,
we'll
be good
stuff,
to go.
Mate.
We'll be ready to go next week or next time, won't we? In a couple of weeks.
It's going to be great.
Yeah,
definitely. I'll get it all uploaded as well, so that'll be ready for tomorrow. So, but yeah, brilliant stuff. Cheers, Mike. That's been an awesome recap, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
All right.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
See you later.